Queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our scene-by-scene breakdown of Heartstopper Season 3, and today we'll be covering Episode 5, Winter, which is perfect, because right now as we're recording, it's winter.
Also, we just passed Christmas and New Year's.
Correct, at the time of the filming.
Yeah.
So,
great timing.
Perfect.
Everything, it's actually perfect.
It's actually perfect, not Charlie hiding shit. Perfect.
And of course, we have Elena back with us to talk about Episode 5.
Hello. Thanks for having me back again.
Always.
Spoiler alert, she will be here for the rest of the season.
Correct.
What?
And beyond.
And beyond.
That's brand new information.
You heard it here first,
Buckle
folks. All right, so shall we dive into winter? I think we shall.
Well, just really quickly, just real quick.
Oh.
Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, follow us on social media, go to the website, just support us to help us spread the joy of queer content further out there. Seriously, just share this with 3 friends who you think would like this. I think that's a great assignment for today. Please do that. And then come finish this discussion. Let's get into it, Theora.
Consider it a New Year's resolution we're giving to you in honor of this episode. All right, so let's jump into it. First of all, the title, obvious. Not only is it the season, but like obvious nod to This Winter, which is the novella that basically covered most of this episode that Alice wrote. And it wasn't like a graphic novel; it was like a novella about Charlie and Nick, which was interesting and very cute. And I love that novella. I wish I read it closer to this episode because I don't remember all the details, but it's a very good little novella. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
I was honestly, as somebody who actually read the novella, I've read it a couple times, I think. I was genuinely curious when they didn't have Oliver in this show, obviously, for practical reasons. I was curious what they were going to do with this scene, because obviously in the novella, it literally starts out with Tori getting woken up by Oliver, going, "Tori, it's Christmas!" Because he's a kid. He's like 8 or something in this novel.
He terrorizes everybody in the morning because he's so excited. That's the opening.
Oh yeah, because I think he's already gone in and woken Charlie up. So Charlie comes in and he's like, "Yeah, no, he's gonna do this all morning." So Tori, it's Christmas. So like the typical kid, excited on Christmas morning. So I was so curious how they were gonna do it without him, and I kind of like the contrast of it. It's still really sweet. It's kind of still in like that style of like, it's just the 2 of them. It's just the siblings to start. But it's kind of more in depth of like what actually has just transpired in the show. Obviously, when the novella starts, you kind of just get the brief overview of what has happened beforehand. We don't already see it beforehand. So I kind of really liked what they did with it, especially with Charlie and Tori just like curling up in Charlie's bed. It's just really sweet. So
it also goes with where we are in the story overall. However, if we were in Happy Land, I would have loved if like the cousins slept over the night before so Oliver could do that. I think that would be cute.
It would be cute. The Oliver reveal is super cute in the show. But I agree. I think this connects with where the headspaces of the characters are. So like to me, it was more of like a haunting opening scene than a like it's Christmas bubbly childish excitement like the novella. So it starts with Tori, but Tori's alone in her room just staring at the ceiling, and if you watch her, she's taking these very deep breaths like she's trying to calm herself down before she goes and sneaks into Charlie's room so they can have like it's Christmas, but it's the 2 of them in more of a somber mood than like Oliver excitedly waking everybody up.
Oh yeah, this is the complete opposite.
Exactly.
And when she goes to Charlie's room, we get an overhead shot instead of directly watching her walk into this room. And this shot is usually used to show that a character or a group of people are in trouble or to give it an ominous feel. And lots of films use this to show like the height of something, if someone's like falling off a building, or to show like the danger that somebody's in. And because it causes the viewer to have to face it as well, because it's like if you're walking on a cliff, you don't want to look down, but this is forcing you to do that. So here, Tori and Charlie have to face the fact that their family is coming over and they aren't ready for it because there's just so much going on. So they're both in trouble in their own ways and they have to face it.
Yes, thank you for that. That was helpful. So, 'twas the night before Christmas, and neither Tori nor Charlie has slept well. So they trauma bond over the fact that nobody has slept. What's interesting is that Tori gives zero explanation for why she's not sleeping. So I wonder, based on like the first shot we get of her and those deep breaths she was taking, if she's having like a depressive episode, and like on top of like taking on the anxiety of like Charlie basically is clearly uncomfortable with the Christmas family situation. So I wonder if that's what's going on with Tori. We're just not getting into it because, again, Tori is not the protagonist of this story. So, like, the holidays can be stressful for people in general, but Charlie, at this point, like you were saying, Caitlin, he's worried about the family coming because right now Charlie is post-rehab, like pretty freshly post-rehab. So, like, this is almost like a big mental health test for him. A test he didn't sign up for. He's being forced to take against his will, especially like
it's school.
It's school, right? It's a test, a challenge he has to get through, basically, and like. Especially with mom, because as you'll see, mom's neurotic this time of year because her family also stresses her out, and which then in turn stresses. It's like a domino effect. Mom's stressed, the kids are stressed, everybody's stressed. And then the grandparents, whom we're about to meet, are not lovely people. So, like, they're reasonably stressed out about this holiday with the guests they're about to host, basically.
Honestly, yeah, especially because we don't see, like, what conversations happen between, like, the family and like Charlie's immediate family and then like this whole family, but apparently we get the gist that they know that Charlie went away to the clinic. They know that Charlie went away probably for like his eating disorder and everything. So they know the gist, but they probably don't know all the details, of course. But that's gotta be such a level of anxiety, just like knowing. I assume that Charlie, given like what the conversation they have in this first scene, that Charlie knows that they know. So he's probably just like, oh great, what are they gonna say? What do I have to deal with now with these people? Like, given like their history with them, they're just like, he's probably dreading it a little bit. Going through that kind of journey is so tough on its own, but it's also like on the outside, like on the tail end of it, obviously the journey doesn't end, but the tail end of this time that he was in the clinic, now he has to deal with these people who were on the outside looking in. They don't understand. And if anything, they might make it even harder because they're just going to stress him out. They're just going to make him feel worse because they just don't understand. So.
Yeah. And to your point, I'll point it out later in the episode, but Charlie hasn't told anybody outside of like the Paris squad and his like immediate family about what happened, at least like the details for sure. So I think that mom filled in the family, and I assume mom glossed over many things because the questions they ask him later, they want to know the details. So this is kind of like Charlie's not first, but maybe like second test of like being able to communicate this with people. Cause like the first test was telling the Paris squad but he trusts them. They love him. They're incredibly supportive of no matter what. So it's a very different contrast from like your found family telling them versus like telling your actual family. And like, there's a good contrast here of like, what is it? Another theme in this episode, it's Nick says it later, is like, what is family, right? Because he's related to these people, but he doesn't feel comfortable sharing this. They don't seem to meet him halfway. They make a bunch of assumptions. And like the same theme happens with like Nick and his brother and the dad in this episode. And I think Nick says some line where it's like, family are the people who show up. You know what I mean? Family are the people there who support you. So it's like, who is Charlie's family, really? So that's another thing going on in the context of like Christmas, which I think is also interesting and a good like modern commentary about like having boundaries with family and like that's okay and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a shitty situation for Charlie, but like it kind of is. This is pretty real, you know, like with these family. Even if you're not going through this and you like meet up with your family like once a year and they ask you weird questions, especially like I don't know, I would get all the weird questions of like, the gay stuff. So like I get some of this where it's like, oh my god, like you know what I mean? Anyway, so
yeah.
transition out of that. The siblings in their wallowing, basically they talk about what presents they want for Christmas, and it starts out like sarcastic and then it gets kind of real and like sad because oh my god. So Tori wants a soul. And I'm like, okay, somebody send her to a therapist. She's not okay. Charlie,
she needs Jeff.
She needs Jeff. Charlie wants good mental health. And I want to hug both of them because what the hell? Like these poor children. My favorite present is when Tori's like, what I really want, seriously though, is for dad to season the fucking food. And they're like, he's not gonna do that. I love the way that's this running joke. Like, why is dad always in charge of cooking?
Because no one else feels like doing it.
It's so funny.
Oh, Merry Crisis.
Yes. Merry Chrysler.
I'm so glad that you get that reference. Thank you. I say that to people all the time and they're like, what? It's my perfect way of like non-denominational but still funny. Like, Merry Crisis.
You know, we are all in a crisis.
Exactly. It's
in
on
some
theme.
way.
It is.
But back to Tori and Charlie. I know we talked about this before, but I really, really, really love their relationship.
Yes.
Because it's just so nice to see siblings get along. And, like, especially in this scene in particular, you can tell how close they are to the fact where she can just come lay in his bed. And also, there's the lemur is on Charlie's shoulder.
Yeah.
So the lemur is part of this. It's a trio now.
I feel like the lemur has just fully replaced Kitty, which is like bittersweet, but also like I get it. It's the show. It's cute. So if you guys don't know from the comics, Kitty is the plushie, like the cat plushie that Charlie like has had since he was a child, like since a toddler.
Oh yeah.
So
about that.
I think this is just a really cute little thing that he's still got a little stuffy that he loves. And in this context, it's because Nick gave it to him. It's so sweet.
On Nick's birthday.
On Nick's birthday.
Which is my favorite part.
As a thank you gift for a great birthday, which makes it even cuter.
It does.
And apparently it looks like him.
It reminds him of him, yes. Charlie is a lemur.
Yes. All right, so after the scene, we cut over to the title card, which is the winter title card, and we get the falling snow. So, fitting.
We interrupt this video to bring you a few brief shoutouts from our Chaos crew. So as always, we appreciate every single one of you who watches, listens, follows on social media, does all the things, leaves us a review, subscribes to the channel, joins the Discord, all of the above.
You'd think I'd be better at this.
So thank you.
Yours trying so hard.
Theora, you do not give up. Do not give up with your heart, Theora.
Yay!
There you go. See? Never give up, kids. Never give up.
You will
Never
get
give up
your heart.
webcam.
Unless it's drugs, then give up those.
Give up.
So, shout out to our Chaos crew members on the Big Gay Ride or Die tier and above. This month we have Angela, Natalia, INA, Jill L, Regina B, Monet F, Dana, and A Mix New Monzone _multi.
Woo!
And our featured Big Gay supporter members for this episode are Rin for Easy or Forez,
Ringo came.
Arian.
You guys are blessed.
Hi. Ringo also gets a shout out.
He finally made an appearance. He has a face.
I saw his face.
Arian G. Arian. Sorry. And Diana V. Thank you all.
Ringo the cat showed up for those listening to say thank you all, Patreon members. I'm gracing you
Ringo
with my
also
presence.
appreciates you.
Say hi, bud.
Yes.
Ringo.
That is and not just Ringo's presence, Ringo's face.
Look at how
So,
cute he is.
Ringo is not a Swiffer.
I thought they were gonna say Swifty. I'm like, I
Me
don't
too,
know.
and I was like,
Could
how
be.
do you know his life?
Yeah, For context...
Oh, no. Ringo loves Karma as a cat.
He's a good boy. For context, Ringo's not my cat. He's my roommate's cat, but I've lived here with him and my roommate for a little over a year, so we're basically family now.
Yes.
Hi, my dove.
Speaking of families, Tori and Charlie then start playing Mario Kart after opening presents. And I just kind of love this whole scene because wrapping paper is still laying around the room, and a couple of the presents are still like on top of the wrapping paper where they were opened. And it's as if they were tearing through presents as quick as possible. And just as soon as they figured out what it was, moving on to the next thing. Kind of like when you're a young child.
Classic.
But it's hard to believe that their mom allowed this. Because this whole situation feels a little odd right now. Because she seems like the mom who would hand the kids or everyone one present at a time, and everyone has to just stare at that person until they open it, and then we move on to the next, and it's just like this long drawn out thing, and then she's like standing over top of everybody with a trash bag for all of the wrapping paper so nothing is a mess later. Or if you are my mom and it's pretty paper, you get told to save it carefully, open it carefully so we can reuse it. That just might be being poor, but who knows? Anyway, Charlie is beating Tori in Mario Kart, and so is a computer, apparently, because Tori is in third.
Or Tori. Is that the Oliver placeholder
Tori.
for this scene?
Oh, yeah.
Is the AI.
That is Oliver. Oliver is playing at his house right now. Online.
They could be doing online play, so it's possible. He could be like literally in the car playing right now if he's got like, well, as I say, if he's got Wi-Fi, but wait, do you have Wi-Fi in the car? Hotspot, that's true. You could. Maybe he's got a hotspot and he's just playing it in the car on the way there.
Yeah, they look like the type of family who's like, oh, as long as it keeps you quiet, do whatever you want. Because he's always like has to be in a corner and like it's so anyway, we'll get there. Okay, so the siblings are having a great time until their mom interrupts them. Dun dun dun. And she immediately brings down the mood by saying that they have to get ready because, impending doom is coming.
Yeah, also yes. This was interesting to me because like this is just kind of how I grew up, was like if family members were going to come over, we didn't necessarily have to change out of our PJs. And maybe that was just my family. But that was just kind of like well, that's kind of sad. But, oh well. I don't know what time of day it is at this point. When the mom comes over and she's like, you need to get ready. Like, maybe it could be like noon or something. But I'm just like, I liked being able to stay in PJs all day growing up. That was like my favorite thing about Christmas.
Maybe this is just like we have to be presentable. We have to look perfect. Yeah. We have to be a model family. So my parents can't say anything to me.
Yes.
This all reflects on me right now.
Who does this remind you of? This is like Charlie's thought process too. We got to make it all perfect. Him and his mom are very similar. Also, like you mentioned, all like the wrapping paper everywhere. I wonder if she's also being like, we got to clean this up. Like we're gonna have like a bunch of people in here. We can't have trash on the floor.
That's totally fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I get that. I would feel weird about that too. Yeah.
Also, like, you don't want, like, Oliver to come in and, like, fuck with your presents and, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's also, like, he's a kid, you know, that kind of stuff, too. Gotta baby-proof the house, like.
Again, I'm surprised that wrapping paper is even there right now.
That's what I wonder if, like, dad distracts her in the morning and then, like, lets her relax. And then, like, now she's like, oh, fuck, back into neurotic mode. We have to clean this up because company's coming, which is understandable.
Yeah, I wonder if dad at this moment is like cooking the lunch or whatever. So maybe that's where he is.
Has her in the kitchen and he's like doing stuff, like distracting her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure, you know, as we see in the comics, he's her, he is her support system and knows her pattern of behavior. So I feel like he probably finds ways to like give her, like distract her to give her a mental break from like all of this anxiety. So I wonder if like the kids get to relax while that's happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Tori even makes like
Trauma.
the comment after the mom walks away. She's like, she's always grumpy when grandma and granddad come around. And Charlie says, and yet she still invites them every Christmas. Which is like, yeah, he's got a point, but also I do get why, it is family. There is like that whole idea of like family is everything. And
That's what you're told.
yeah, and Jane
You have
probably,
to make amends.
yeah, and Christmas is like the one time a year that's full of love, and you should, like you should love your family unconditionally or whatever like the constructs are about Christmas. And so I get totally where Jane is like feeling obligated, especially like because it is literally her parents. So like I get it.
Right. They're her parents. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like I get where she's struggling and where it is tense for her. But Charlie does have a point. It's like, and yet, but it's tough.
I hope they can get to a point where they don't see the family on Christmas, or like maybe they don't host, because I think hosting is also putting a lot more pressure on Jane and
Mm-hmm.
causing a lot more anxiety and issues for the family. So maybe go to the cousin's house so they can leave whenever they want instead of, having to deal with this and just take it because they're stuck in their house.
That is the
But
worst thing, yeah.
they could also just do something on the weekend and then actually have the day just to be themselves and relax.
Yeah. So like it depends on what their family structure kind of looks like. Because as somebody who grew up in more of a like, I guess traditional-ish structure, I don't even know. Culturally we have like like I'm Italian American. Culturally we have roles for things like this for holidays. And so hosting is like a daughter's responsibility, especially like a big holiday, things like that. Like basically in my family, we had like assigned holidays that we were, because in my mother's family, as I'm speaking of, we had assigned holidays we were responsible for hosting for everybody, not just like your parent. It's everybody comes over because Italians, big families. But it's a role, it's a duty. It is your responsibility as a daughter to do that. So like Jane, I think is Jane an only child or she have a sibling?
I think
I
she
can't
has like
remember.
at least a brother. I think there's the guy who talks to Charlie later that might be
Okay,
the uncle, like her brother, I
right.
think.
Okay, so then in that structure, like she would be the one who's responsible because she's the woman. She's the daughter, so it's her responsibility. She would be seen as like it's your responsibility to host. Like mom and dad hosted this when we were kids, and then as the daughter, once you get married, it's now your responsibility. So like it could be an element of that where she's pressured into it because of like the expectation of being a daughter in this family structure. Like that's sometimes part of it. So like, yeah, mom doesn't want to do this, but like I think like, like familial role wise, she's probably pressured into doing it. So, and setting boundaries like that is hard because guilt does play into it where it's like, well, I raised you, I did all these things, like it's your turn now. It's kind of like a paying it forward thing with family, and there's, a double-edged sword to that for sure. Like we're seeing here, like, yeah, no one's happy about it, but like anytime you force families to be together, like, yeah, nobody's happy because it's like everybody's going out of their comfort zone for the day to spend time together. And then like you'll see that like everybody has their own creature habits. So then when they come to other people's houses, they're like, this is not like my house. Like the grandmother comes in, she's like, I don't like the wine here. She's like, people do shit like this, regardless of who they are. It's just like that's what happens when you get people together. And it kind of sucks, but like this is the one time a year everybody spends together. So it's like, and then like Nick and Tori, they're having their Christmas time now together that's relaxed and chill. But then the family comes later. And then the family's gonna leave at the end of the day. It's not like they stay. My Christmases, everybody stayed. Like we were together for days. So, but we saw each other a lot more often. So it was it's different. People like hanging out. But anyway, so
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we saw each other all the time. Yeah. So I feel like with Jane, she's pressured into doing this as the daughter in the family.
Okay, I see that.
It makes total sense, absolutely.
Okay, so then we cut to Nick's house, where we get the wonderful reveal of Henry. Woohoo!
He's a pug. Yeah, I love that Nick like sends that photo of him to Charlie, and then like as he gets the message back, I don't know if this was on purpose but the timing of it was just really cute. As soon as like the text tone pops up that Nick gets the reply, Henry like paused the phone, and it's just really cute.
It was very cute. I recently saw some like BTS clips because at the time of filming this, they started releasing bloopers. They released bloopers from this episode, and the pug would not cooperate with Kit. Like, this pug was like hard to film with. Like, so I'm surprised they got as many shots as they did with this little pug. Because like Echo is really good. Like, Echo plays Nellie, and Echo's really good at just, I mean, part Australian Shepherd, like those dogs you can train for. This dog does not cooperate. So like poor Kit was like trying to like wrangle this dog that had a mind of its own constantly.
So I think I remember hearing that they had to switch pugs, if I remember right, at some point during filming. I think Kit and Joe talked about that in an interview once, that they had to like switch out the pugs. Which I think one of them, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them was named Mango, which I think is really cute.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, because they just were so restless and couldn't film, I don't know if it was this pug, but that'd be really funny.
That'd be really funny. This one's like moving around and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first pug.
That's so funny.
But yeah, poor Kit.
Pugs just want to have fun. Back to Charlie. He's getting ready and trying to like mentally psych himself up to be able to deal with everything that he knows is bound to happen. His mind's running, like, what if this happens? This is probably going to happen. I really don't want to do this. And you know what? I don't blame you. And when he turns to go sit on his bed, he grabs a bigger sweatshirt to put on. And I'm assuming it's to, like, hide himself more so he can, like, kind of drown in the clothes so maybe he won't get as many comments from his family. Unfortunately, that doesn't work, but like the anxiety for him right now is just too much. And then he gets a voice message from Nick, and Nick is letting him know that he can always come over to his house if he needs to and wants to, and there is a little guy who needs a hug. And he totally meant that meant Henry when he said that. Only Henry.
Only Henry.
Yeah. I think also Charlie he puts on that specific jumper because it's Nick's jumper too. Yeah. I think he definitely, I noticed that it was like literally on his floor. He picks it up off of his floor. So it's possible it's just he like threw it away and he's like, I need comfort. This is my boyfriend's, which means it's mine now. But you know.
Yes.
Which is really sweet. Yeah, so the next scene, oh boy, it's when the grandparents arrive. The grandparents and the relatives. They come for family Christmas, and immediately the grandfather does exactly what Charlie said in the beginning of the episode, which is he comments that Charlie is looking real skinny. And he says, I thought you were getting all that mess sorted out. Oh boy.
They didn't even get their coats off yet before they start making comments. So this just confirms that the fears and anxieties were, I don't know.
That justified?
Yeah, justified.
But also, like, think about this. Immediately, they start going in, digging in the whole family, right? And pulling apart why it's not perfect. This is why mom is so neurotic. Like, remember, these are the people that raised her. So, like, for those out there who, like, are on the I hate Jane train, like, look at this is the environment she grew up in. Like, imagine being criticized constantly. Like, trauma. Mama has trauma. Like, you can see, like,
that's trauma. That's Jane's spinoff.
Mama has trauma is like the MILF show that I want. Because, like, everybody's got trauma constantly. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. That's nothing to do with Heartstopper. But it's like, You got to put Jane into context. Is all I'm saying. Like, this are her parents.
I feel bad for her.
Yes, I feel very bad for her.
These are not warm and fuzzy people.
I also want to give Jane a hug, but like I feel like she would hate it. She'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right. She has major cat energy.
I want to give Jane a therapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe a nice hot cup of tea with her favorite tea.
Yeah.
We'll do that too.
Jane needs a day off, is what we're saying, or like
cozy
a week off.
Yeah, cozy blanket, like one of those like giant blankets, and just like cozy tea and her favorite TV show, whatever.
You know what she needs? She needs to spend the holidays with Isaac, because that's basically what he's doing right now.
And Olivia Colman. All three of them.
Yeah.
I know. She needs to be better friends with Olivia Colman.
They need to hang out. All right. Yeah, so like, okay, so anyway, like they dig into Charlie first, and then immediately the Gran's like, Tori, what the fuck with your hair? And it's like, girl, like it's so rude. Like, and there's no hello either. First of all, their jackets aren't off, like you said, Caitlin. There's no hello, how are you? It's immediately like, Charlie, why do you look so skinny? And then like, Tori, why did you cut your hair? They're immediately like, why are you different? Like, it's been a year. What do you mean? First of all. But like, wow, it's just rude immediately. No hello, just rude immediately.
It's very awful.
Yes.
No wonder they do not care to see them. But I noticed a difference between the grandmother and the grandfather, because like the grandfather did seem like interested and actually curious, where the grandmother was just like fully like ridiculing Tori and attacking her.
Yeah. Maybe we should unpack that. So what's the difference between Charlie and Tori? It's a boy and a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jane and brother, the girl's always criticized. And what is she criticizing Tori about? She's like, why do you look less feminine? So like, it is the traditional household. Like Tori's being criticized for looking less feminine. Charlie, there's more of a concern there as the boy, because boys are seen as more human in that, like, and autonomous in that kind of structure. So like, this is probably how Jane and her brother were treated. Her brother was probably treated more like a human being, and Jane was treated as like this person occupying a role that needs to look a certain way to fit the gender role. Like, that's how they're treating Tori and Charlie. And like, I understand, because I had that kind of stuff put on me as a kid too. Like I have a younger brother, so like I had a very similar dynamic to this growing up with like relatives. So I get this. It's like, that's why the questioning is very different. And it's like the grandmother attacking Tori for not fitting the gender role. It's like women enforcing the gender role, whereas like granddad stalking at Charlie.
Well, what's wild is the grandma's hair is short too. And so she's criticizing Tori for it.
So is Jane's.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is it because Tori's unmarried? Is that like the reason?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like,
it is, actually.
You haven't pulled a man, like specifically, she hasn't pulled a man yet. So like, she's got to stay feminine so she can please a man. Like, get out of here.
Yes.
Get out of here.
It's maiden mother crone, right? Maiden has to have the long hair. No, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's a role for the Agatha people.
The throwback to Agatha, yes.
Yeah, no, usually when you get older, like your hair doesn't grow as much anymore. So like older married women, widows, cut their hair off, and that's seen as fine. You're past your like baby making prime. So like you go into a different role as like the crone versus like mother is like, I don't know. I feel like mom criticizes Jane over her hair, but she's like, I see you once a year. I feel like mom just puts up with it, to be honest. But yeah. The irony
Jane
of that.
rolls her eyes. Not actually, but like on the inside, bites her tongue, and then her husband has to deal with it later.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it says a lot too that like, you know, Jane is standing right there as this is happening, and she doesn't tell her parents to stop. She doesn't tell them off. I think that just says a lot about like how she was raised and like the mindset that's been drilled into her since she was so young. And it says a lot about how she approaches parenting and just perfectionism and everything about her. So that just in that one moment, it says a lot right there. Because like you would think that ideally a parent would tell their parents, hey, stop talking to my kid that way. But it's complicated. It's tough. This dynamic. It says a lot. So
Yeah, I totally agree. It says a lot that she, around her parents, defaults into like performing, and it's very people pleasing, which is the complete opposite of what actually goes on in the household outside of the eyes of the parents. So it's like, she strikes me as one of those people who performing takes a big toll on her. And so because of that, I think that this people pleasing stuff, like trying to like put out fires before they start, because she's terrified of her parents. You know, I feel like her inner child's being triggered, and so she's doing everything she can to like not let fires break out, basically, because she knows their tempers. Like, you can see them getting mad immediately, and she's like, okay, let's calm everybody down. Meanwhile, like when it's just her and her family, I feel like Jane is zero tolerance for performing, and she just, when she's triggered, she just is angry. That's why, like, I think Tori said something at the beginning of this episode, like, I wish mom could emotionally regulate better, but it's like, I don't think she like has ever fully processed any of that, and like can't. She just like, the performing and the reining it in takes too much of a toll on her, so that when she's alone, she's a loose cannon, because she just can't do it. It's just too much effort, I guess. So that's what she strikes me
as. At the very least, here, the good thing is that she's not agreeing with the grandparents and like attacking the kids as well, because that could also happen to be like, oh, see, I am trying to fix this. Like, I am trying to take care of it. Because like that can be more annoying, because it's like, you know that that's not your mom, but they're pretending to be one way in front of people and then another behind the doors.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah. At the very least, she does try to like pull them away from the situation, be like, let's go here, let's get you a drink. So, which of course then her mom immediately goes, none of that cheap stuff from last year. I'm like, wow. Okay, first of all, if you can't,
what'd you bring?
Get your own then. Like, if you don't like it, get your own. Like, what? It's just wild.
Again, it's one of those things where like some people like being in power, because like grandma's the matriarch now, so she's like, as matriarch, I've made it to the point where I can criticize my daughter for not being as good at this as me. And it's like, some people get off on that shit. It's so annoying. That's the vibe I get from the scene. Poor Jane.
Yeah. And then on a more positive note, we get Oliver finally.
Yay!
Oliver has arrived. Surprise! And he is adorable. And he immediately comes up and he's so excited to see Charlie. So in this, in the comics, Oliver is Charlie and Tori's younger brother. But for practical reasons, the complications when they first started the show of trying to bring in a child actor, the child labor laws and everything, and also just like practicality and time constraints and everything, and the budgeting for season 1 at the time, it just wasn't really practical to have Oliver in the show, this literal like 8-year-old child. And so they have left him out of the show, and in this context, they brought him in as Tori and Charlie's cousin, just so we could have a little taste of the comics and the dynamic and how cute he is and his energy, because he is just such a pure soul that really just adds a little bit of light to the story, even in like dark times like this. So it's very exciting that Oliver has made an appearance, and of course he's holding a tractor. I think it's so funny to me. I think this is just like how it was shot, but the fact that Charlie immediately goes, Oliver, and he picks him up and he goes, you're getting really big, and then right away he puts him back down.
It's so cute.
I think that's just maybe how it was cut, but it just was really funny to me that he just was like, oh, you're getting big. Yeah, no.
No. Yeah, no. I also love when he comes in the door and I think they ask him, what'd you get for Christmas? And he's like, I got loads of tractors. So plural. This is just one tractor that he brought, which is a very cute detail. Like Oliver and his tractors. This is so cute.
It's so cute.
I hope he got a cardboard one too.
Like in Solitaire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I bet he did. Yeah, so they all like go into the kitchen and they all sit down for their Christmas lunch or dinner. I think it's lunch. It seems like it's lunch, given the time of day. Especially because it's, this is winter, this is December, and it's still light out. So my assumption is probably lunch. It's probably dark for dinner. And of course, from the get-go, Charlie's parents are just like nervous for him about dinner. It's a big dinner. It's probably it might very well be the very first like big dinner in this scenario that he's had since coming back from the clinic. Obviously, like we know in the comics, it's different because the chronology of how things are different in the comics. Right after Charlie gets out of the clinic is when he meets Nick's dad for the first time. Obviously, they switched that up in the show a little bit just for story's sake, which was very well executed on, I feel like. And
yeah.
So in this story, this is probably the very first time he's had like a proper dinner, especially with more than just like his immediate family and Nick and everything. So this is probably stressful as hell for him, just in his own brain, but he's trying to not worry about it too much because obviously like worrying about it's just going to make it worse. So he's trying to focus on the good side, and his parents are immediately like worrying and they're trying to talk him through it. Like I have to wonder like what communication happened before this scene, if there was any communication.
Yeah.
So Charlie's dad is like doing his best to be calm, trying to be like, we can work on breathing exercises if this stresses you out. Remember your therapist said this. So he's trying to keep it more calm. And then Jane comes in. She is obviously still on edge. And that energy is probably not helping. She is obviously very stressed. She's visibly stressed. She's not even like trying to be calm. She is just stressed. So
yeah,
tis the season to be stressed. La, 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 la.
oof.
Yeah, I mean, hosting is hard. I get it.
It's tough.
Yeah. I will say though, I agree with all that. This is probably Charlie's like first time like being in this scenario in a very long time, I would imagine. With food, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love that when he sits down, first of all, he sits down at the table and it's crowded. Like it's a very crowded table. There's a lot of people, and he starts eating without much hesitation. I think he hesitates for like a second, but then he starts eating. So it just goes to show like the progress that Charlie has made over the last few months has been enormous, that he could even just sit down at this table and just calmly eat. It's amazing, honestly. And like if you notice, like Tori doesn't look stressed because Charlie's not stressed. So like, which is a good thing.
Yeah, Tori's emotions are very much dependent on how Charlie's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tori needs more help.
I love
someone to notice.
It probably helps Charlie a lot that like first of all Tori's next to him.
Yes.
And then like I don't know if maybe like because the cousins are on that side, because obviously like the adults are on one side, all of the younger kids are on the other side.
Table.
So like, could it be like partially because literally Tori's right next to him, and like his parents are like on the other side. So like, is that separation plus the grandparents are on the other side? Does that maybe help as well? Because I feel like I know for if it were me in that situation, this is me completely talking in a way that I've never been through this. Like hypothetically, if I were in that situation, I feel like if like that those people were sitting in front of me, I would feel like I'm putting on a show, and that's a lot of pressure right there. But like these cousins, I think the cousins know too that like Charlie was in the clinic, but they don't ask anything about it. They don't make any comments about it. They literally just start talking to Nick or to Charlie about his boyfriend. So I wonder if that like is a lot less stressful, just because that's what their minds are. They're teenagers, or presumably these girls are teenagers, or around teenage age, like younger, and they're just like asking about dating. So, and of course Charlie's in a happy relationship, so he's more than happy to talk about his boyfriend. So I love what's so funny is the fact that they asked Tori. Like, first of all, Nick and Charlie have been together for 8 months at this point, which I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot there's a time jump. And also, holy cow, 8 months? That's almost a year, y'all. They're almost at a year. They've made it. They've made it so far from season 1. Oh my God. But then I asked Tori, what about you, Tori? Are there any men in your life? And Tori just looks stone-faced and she just goes, no.
I love Tori.
No. It's my favorite thing.
Tori is the best.
She is the best.
It's the perfect. It's perfectly Tori. Like, that is Tori.
Yes. It's perfect.
It's the best delivery of that line. Just no.
No.
The best choice of answer and just best delivery. No. Like, that's all you need to say. So funny.
No is a complete sentence.
It is. And it's funny, these cousins, then they start asking, like, or they start saying, like, oh, straight men are the worst. Let's hope that Oliver turns out better. And then the other cousin, I could not for the life of me remember their names.
Me either.
But Oliver's the only one you need to know.
Girl 1, girl 2.
Yeah, I'm just like, I knew their names once upon a time, but I'm like, I don't know. I have to read the novella again. But they're just like, we don't know if Oliver's gonna turn out straight. We have no idea. Charlie, when did you realize you were gay? Like they have like this conversation, like, oh, they're being so open-minded. She's like, oh, you're so right. He might not be straight. Charlie. And I just think it's so funny. But it's like, I don't know. You could tell that they mean well. Like they're the younger generations. They're probably a lot more open-minded because they go to school. They're probably surrounded by queer people. I'm assuming they go to a school that they're not, private school or not homeschooled. Assuming they go to a public school, they probably are around queer people, so they're probably like whatever. But it's just so funny.
It's like one of those out of the mouths of babes kind of thing, where it's like it's like they are being honest, but it just comes off like Charlie's like, okay, wait a minute, like this is kind of offensive that you're asking me this.
Yeah, it's also like probably one of the first times they're talking to an openly gay person about
also that
being gay, and so they're just like wanting the tea. But also, it's like one of those kind of almost like Imogen in season 1. I'm not homophobic. I'm an ally to the lesbians.
Right.
It's just like, we thank you for your service. Congrats. It's just funny. They mean well, but it's just funny.
Sorry, Caitlin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. No, go ahead. Just continue.
All right. But yeah, so during this conversation, Jane comes over, and we're still like part of the way through the meal, so it's like kind of like, I think she's just coming and checking on to make sure that Charlie is eating, which is fine. She comes over and she asks, is everything okay? How's everybody doing? But she does make a point, and you can see it visibly, that she looks down at Charlie's plate and to see how much he's eaten. And Tori and Charlie kind of answer at the same time. Tori, in a very like trying to just like steer away from them, is like, we're fine. But Charlie visibly is like irritated, and he goes, I'm fine. He I just noticed this. He drops his fork down and it like hits the table, and he goes, I'm fine. Like, get out of my face kind of vibes.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh. And the mom immediately is just kind of like, okay, and walks away. So,
which is great. Great job, Mom, for just ignoring it and just walking away right now, because addressing it, first of all, we're in front of the entire family, so that's not going to go well. And this is not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, the answers from Tori and Charlie show who they are thinking about. Mm-hmm. So Tori is always thinking of the both of them, or at least just, like, it. Charlie always has to be in her mind. Sometimes she doesn't even think about herself, but right now she's like, we're both fine. Charlie only is considering himself and his struggles, which we do see play out in this episode.
Yes.
So again, poor Tori looking after him, and no one's looking after her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Tori, and after she walks away, Tori's like, I think she's just worried. And Charlie goes, can't I just try to have a normal... And then he trails off with a sentence. But given his body language and like his tone, and then also he sighs, you can tell like where he was going with that sentence. You can kind of get the idea. Like for me, it's just like, first of all, A+ acting on Joe for the delivery of this line, because of like, you just can tell where his mind is, because he doesn't even know like what exact word he's looking for. He's just saying, can I just have a normal existence? Like, I just want to have a normal Christmas. I want to have a normal dinner, time with my family. I want to have a normal life, for God's sake. Like, he just wants to have a normal time.
Or one day that it's not about his mental health.
Seriously, yeah. So,
yeah. The good part about this, like, so far in Christmas is that he knew this was going to be, like, a tough day for him. And, like, so far he's handling it all pretty well. Like, the fact that his cousins came and were at the dinner table and were asking him normal teenage questions, like, that right there was pretty normal. You know, I mean, they were being like, you know, I'm an ally about it, like you said, Elena, but like, that's pretty normal teenage, like, cousin questions. Like, that was all very normal. So, and like, to be fair to Mom, like, yeah, she did come and hover a bit, but like, as the hostess, like, she would come over and be like, how are you doing? Like, is everything okay? Can I get you anything? That's part of her job. So like, that also was pretty normal, but like, I still think that like Charlie just gets triggered by Mom. And like, I feel like Mom's anxiety triggers Charlie's anxiety, whether they mean it to do that or not. And because I feel like that's just a reaction he has to her based on the entirety of their relationship. So like, I think she like piqued his anxiety without meaning to, because like she was doing hostess shit. And yes, she is clearly worried about Charlie, but like also that was just a hostess move. But anyway.
Yeah, I think the fact that she literally like, I think if she hadn't looked down at the plate, maybe if they hadn't had like that little pause, maybe it would be different.
I agree.
But yeah, it's just like, I get why she's nervous, because like she knows too, like this is a big deal, and I do believe she genuinely cares that Charlie feels safe in this environment. Like, she genuinely is concerned for him. It's just like, she genuinely cares. Her execution sometimes isn't the best, but you know, she's human.
Yeah.
So she means well.
Yeah. I mean, her parents are very blunt. She hasn't learned how to communicate properly.
She wasn't given the tools.
Here's the other thing, though, that would absolutely happen in this scenario. So, like, we saw it with the wine. Like, Mom and Dad are going to criticize her. So if Charlie's not eating, there's a high chance that they'll say something and be like, why isn't he eating? I thought he was better. And that's going to trigger Charlie more. So again, she's trying to put out fires before they start. So I think that's part of the reason why, because then she comes back to her mom, and what does Mom do? Criticizes her immediately. Stop worrying. Like, no matter what she does, she's always wrong with her parents. So like, I think she's trying to take the heat so like Charlie doesn't get it. And then it's like, it's a clusterfuck because these people are crazy. Like, relatives are crazy sometimes. And it's just, you know, not in a derogatory way, but in a way that like we harm each other without meaning to. It's just a mess anyway. So
yeah. And then Charlie goes, I'm fine. And she's probably just thinking in her head, like, oh, great, now I pissed my kid off. That's great.
Right. Like, she's in the wrong no matter what today. And it just, I feel like she dreads Christmas, to be honest.
God, poor Jane.
I know. Like, it just, this is like, I don't know, this is typical, like, shit. I get this.
Being a mom's hard.
This is a lot of holidays for a lot of people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've explored what's going on in the Spring household. Let's go see what the Nelsons are doing. So meanwhile, over at the Nelsons, David is being a dick. Classic. While Nick, the best boy ever, is cleaning up after the dinner table. And I love that he does this for his mother. What a sweetheart.
Because he loves and respects Olivia Colman, whereas David is David.
Yeah, Nick drinks his respects women juice, and David does not.
David, like, he literally, like, he's out of, just because he lives out of the house now, he's at university or wherever he is now, he thinks that, oh, well, I don't live here, so I don't have to take care of shit anymore. It's like, bro, because he did this in season 2 when they were having the dinner with his dad. He's sitting on his ass watching the football, the soccer game, whatever it was. Was it soccer? I don't know.
It was rugby.
Was it rugby?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Sports. They're watching the sports.
They're watching some kind of sport. and he's just sitting on his ass with his dad drinking a beer instead of helping his mom with dinner. So she's doing everything. So it's like that on its own. But instead of like doing anything, this is what the part that frustrates me is he is literally just sitting on his ass moping. He's just moping about the fact that his dad isn't there yet, instead of hanging out with his relatives, or maybe, I don't know, helping his brother clean up. He's doing nothing. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So David is David and terrible. But like in his mind, he's been abandoned in a sense. Like he's kind of, whenever he thinks of his dad or his dad's around, he becomes a little child basically who idolizes his father, and now it's like, oh, but he forgot about me. And so like he's kind of in a depression, but he doesn't know how to process things either, and he not processes but reacts with anger. So this is what's happening with that trauma, because the dad really did abandon them.
Yes.
He never comes around.
No.
I think we've talked about this before, like the fact that David kind of seems like he got a lot of the dad's qualities, whereas Nick got a lot of their mom's qualities. I think we talked about this, like, and also to that sense that, yeah, David greatly feels abandoned by his dad, and we don't know at what point when they were kids that the parents separated or whatever, so we don't know how much more of David's life his dad was around. So yeah, you do gotta kind of feel bad for him, just because it's like, that's probably where a lot of his shit is just from like wanting his dad to just love him and always coming up short because his dad just never shows up. So, but then he like takes it out on everybody else. And I think we've also talked about this. David's like the prime example of growing up with toxic masculinity. He literally just is like,
he is toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
you see him turning into his dad. Like that's what's happening in the scene. He's turning into his dad.
Yeah.
Because like you all said, he hero worships dad, so he's butthurt that like dad's not here, because he clings to the hope probably every year that dad's gonna show up, and he never does. Meanwhile, like you're saying, he's ignoring everybody else in this house. So he's just like kind of like Charlie's situation, not to compare the two of them. He's so focused on him, he doesn't see anything else. And like that leaves Nick to like fulfill like all the familial roles basically happening in this, because they're hosting Christmas. And he's like, cleaning the table. Miles' brother's moping at the table and like helping his mom. You see Nick interacting with all the guests. Like he's like kind of the host here, whereas like David's the sad boy in the corner because he can't get over the fact that dad's not here. And it's like, bitch, dad never comes. Like you need to get over this. But like, what's the masculine response? You don't get sad, you get mad. That's the only emotion you're allowed to have. So that's why he does what he does, and he doesn't process things because that's not masculine. You just project it onto other people. So he is toxic masculine, and he's like turning into his dad because he's pulling away from the family, which is exactly what the dad did. Like you see it happening in this kind of scene, and like Nick tries to like be like, bro, look at the writing on the wall, but like he refuses to, he's too triggered or whatever. He refuses to see it.
And Nick has been dealing with this his whole life too. Well, from the time that all this happened.
Yeah, who knows what David was like prior to the divorce? Like, who knows? But like, yeah, Nick's been dealing with this for a while with David.
Like, people could say that Nick could be a little nicer in the way, but like he is showing that he cares a little bit at all, because he is telling him, like, he never comes, like reminding him, like, this is just what happens and we have to accept it. And he does look understanding in a way, but he's also like, I'm just sick of having to deal with this because I know it's just going to be taken out on me.
Right. Well, it's like there's no getting through to somebody who's not willing to accept reality. Like David is living in the fantasy land in his brain. He's not accepting reality. So like Nick's like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I'm not fighting with you over this. You need to figure your shit out.
Yeah, David deflects hardcore. Like he really deflects. He did it so like majorly in season 2, especially after the dinner when Nick calls him out on his shit in front of everybody. What does he do at the end? He bitches on the phone to a friend of his. What was the guy's name? Tom or something, I think. He like just calls Nick like overreacting, and his boyfriend's a drama queen and everything, and obviously not understanding that, hey, maybe I actually was kind of an asshole during dinner, which, kind of the same as the dad probably did raising him, which is interesting that his dad is in season 2 kind of more that we see on in the show, like on the side of like now in his own personal, I want to say growth, but did he grow at all? I don't know. Where he is saying like, I want to be better, but it's all empty words. He's at that point in his own journey as a person. He makes a bunch of empty promises, whereas David is at that stage where he is purely deflecting all of his problems. So it's very interesting how different they are with that. But yet, we see that again with David in this scene specifically, like him deflecting instead of acknowledging that, hey, dad isn't coming. He takes it out on his brother and his brother's boyfriend. So
yeah, we'll get to that parallel in a second. One thing I want to mention in this scene, just when you thought you couldn't like David anymore, he tried to grow a mustache too, so he made himself more unlikable in this scene. Like immediately you see him and you're like, you're such a douchebag looking guy. Like I can't even with you. Just the visual is annoys me. And anyway, so yeah, in this scene, to your point, he deflects. So what does he do? He, instead of like processing reality, reading the writing on the wall that Nick's pointing to, he's like, Nick, what about you and your savior complex? And which isn't wrong. Like Nick definitely has a savior complex. But the way David goes about it is with malice, and he starts taking it out on Charlie, whom he clearly doesn't like, and he calls Charlie deranged and like attention seeking. He's like, oh, so you have to go save him every time he like uses his mental health basically to like for attention and all this stuff. And Nick rightfully tells him to fuck off most respectfully, because like Nick's not gonna put up with his brother's bullshit anymore. Like he's not people pleasing him. He's like, fuck you, David, get the hell away from me. Like, because like I feel like for David, it's one of those things where like for him to feel better, he has to like beat up somebody else. He's a bully. And so he's like, oh, if I could beat up Nick and like get the win, then I'll feel better. But Nick is like, no, I'm not fucking doing this with you. Get away from me. So like it robs David of like the satisfaction of like, ooh, you're worse than I am. So he could feel superior to his brother. But like Nick's like, no, fuck off, bitch.
And this is why Nick got the good deal in this, that he has his mother, because he has learned to be like, my power is not letting you affect me.
Yeah. Right. They, learn different lessons. Speaking of their mother, so we don't see Olivia Colman in this scene because of filming reasons. So let's fan fiction for a second. While this fight is happening, what was Olivia Colman doing off? Because she's off screen. Okay. So I think that there's only so much she could take of her mustachioed oldest son. And it's like, I think she went outside to like do a task, and she's like having a really long smoke break just to get out of that house. Cause like there's only so much of this walking disappointment that she could take before she like needs to get out of the house. And poor Nick's covering for her in the scene. That's why she's like, you need to do the dishes, Nick. I need to go like chop firewood or some shit. She goes outside to just have like a smoke break. She just can't.
I wonder if maybe Nick just does it as like a gift for his mom on the holiday. Be like, hey, I see how much you do for me and everybody. You just take a break.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that Olivia Colman has this holiday thing down. Like everything's figured out, and she's not like Jane running around trying to make sure everyone likes her. And she's just able to relax.
Everyone already likes her though.
That's why.
Yeah, that's true.
Because and she can just relax in an armchair and like sipping a little tea
or whiskey.
Having and like Christmas cookies. You know, the tea's well,
it's fine.
All right, so I mean,
like a hot toddy.
She can drink what Santa drinks, amaretto and eggnog.
There you go.
That's what my mom taught me growing up. Oh. Because amaretto and eggnog was gone, but the milk was still there. Great lesson for a kindergartner. Anyway, so she's just enjoying the company of her family because, you know, this family's actually decent. Not every family is like Charlie's. There are some families who do love to be around each other and do have fun on the holidays. Believe it or not, if you don't have one of those. and she's just not even thinking about David, because why would she? She's like, he's a lost cause. That's his dad's problem. I've tried. She's like,
True.
when he wants help, he can come to me and I will be there for him. But I think she would be like,
Nick should bring Henry over to the Spring family house, because I think that definitely also is a bonus. Like the fact that they're all distracted by new dog, it's a new pug. Right. So, I mean, obviously, like the party itself is great because the family is great, but yeah, Nick should just bring. But I say that
Jane would be like, "Oh, the dog petting, puppy." Like, "Oh, don't. Dog's not allowed on the couch. Right. The dog's not allowed here."
Nellie would be better.
Nellie would be good. Nellie's
trained. Yeah, I feel like
Nellie still sheds.
All the pug would have to do is pee on one thing or chew one thing, and like Jane would flip out. And like,
it's true. Yeah. So what you're saying is Jane needs to go over to the Nelson family house.
Yes.
So it's not her house. She's not host. She
then she won't be stressed. Yeah.
That's what the real thing is, that Jane just needs to actually like get more experience with Nick's family. Jane just needs to have more time with them. She needs to see what a nice, like, loving family is like, which would probably be the weirdest shit for her. She's just like, what the fuck is this? You all are actually talking about your feelings? The fuck?
I could see them playing games after dinner too.
Yeah, and she'd just be like, what?
Basically, Charlie and Nick just need to get married and then host Christmas for both the families.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, we know at some point...
And together, they will have a okay Christmas.
Yeah.
Because the nice Christmas and the terrible Christmas can balance each other.
I feel like
I don't think that the good one needs to be balanced.
I feel like Nick would take over hosting Christmas for his mom, so then by default, the Springs could come over. And then Jane could get a break. I think Nick would take that responsibility on and be like, Charlie, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because that's his way of taking care of everybody.
Right. Savior complex. Yeah.
There is like this art that Alice did a while back that was of Nick and Charlie. There's like some of them in their first apartment together at Christmas. And then there's like some of like canonically they do at some point in like their 20s spend Christmas just the two of them. So I assume that's like Christmas Day. It's just the two of them. So I'd love to think that like maybe in the future, they do either host or they just like, I don't know, like maybe the family all gets together somewhere else. I don't know. But that would just be really cool to think.
I don't know.
Destination Christmas.
My first thought is like something happened in Charlie's family.
No.
That broke the tradition.
No. Maybe.
Not their relationship, but like someone. Maybe the dad finally convinced Jane to like go on a cruise with him for the holiday. He was like, all right, kids, we'll celebrate Christmas later. No, she gets kidnapped by her husband and is like, all right, we're doing this. We're video chatting for dinner.
They get kidnapped by the Nelsons or something, and the husband like is in on it. He's just like, yeah, okay, let's go. My wife needs to get out of this toxic environment. Let's go.
Seriously.
Yeah. My theory for this is so dumb, but this was just what I thought of. My theory for where Olivia Colman is. So I've got two. I've got one theory that she's currently in Paris. She's given the dad, Stefan, a good talking to. She's handing his ass to him right now about being a neglectful father, not being there for his kids. And then my second theory, which is just shitposting, Haley Atwell, aka Aunt Diane, is literally just two Olivia Colmans in a trench coat.
So she was there the whole time?
She's there the whole time. We just can't.
That's why they're so similar.
I love that. That's a good one. I love it. If you have a theory out there, listener at home, of what Olivia Colman was doing off screen during Christmas this year, let us know in the comments. I would love to hear it all. All of those were valid.
However, I refuse to accept that she wasn't there because
she's definitely there.
Olivia
she's
Colman
off screen.
Was there.
She's just in a trench coat. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. She's there. What was she doing? All right. Anyway, so that was what the Nelsons are up to, and then we get a quick montage of the Paris squad and what everybody's doing for their holiday. So Isaac is currently living my dream holiday, which is a book, coziness, and like a hot drink. So like, solid. Jane should be there, as we've stated.
I know. The snowman mug is classic. Classic snowman
It
mug.
is.
It's my favorite. It's so cute. And then I love, this is just such a cute little thing. The little Christmas village on his end table. That's so
Cute.
adorable, and I want it. Like, where can I buy that? I actually want that. It's so simplistic, but it's so cute.
It's so cute. I love the way they decorated all of the houses for everybody for like the holidays. It was very cute. I love the way they did everything. And that was a very Isaac like little touch.
Isaac would have a very cozy area.
He does. It's his book nook. It's cute. All right, then we shoot over to Darcy and the world's best grandmother, and they're having a gay old time in the apartment or house. I think she owns a house. And Darcy is trialing a professor look. They got like suspenders and this green coat, which I'm confident has elbow patches. So like, that's what Darcy's doing. And Gran is like, you look handsome. And like, what a perfect response. And just so cute and supportive. And then I love that Gran's like, you look great, kid. And then like starts shaking her martini or whatever the hell. Like Gran's just living life right now. I just love this.
Gran is the best.
Gran's the best.
I want more Darcy and Gran adventures.
Literally. Oh my god.
Like a buddy cop
with them.
Not like, yeah. Oh my gosh, no, it would be amazing just to see like Gran taking Darcy out on the town and showing them around.
You know what I want? Darcy's gap year, but it's her and Gran just having an adventure.
That's
like,
what
you
I
know
was about
what I mean?
to say.
Like a
yes.
transcontinental adventure.
Travel around the world together. I think that would be so fun.
It would be amazing.
Was that on purpose, Theora?
Yes.
I thought so.
But like, okay, I want them in the little car that Gran has, just like driving around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it almost like one of those. If you guys know who Jack Whitehall is, Jack Whitehall traveling the world with his father.
Yes,
he's a British stand-up comedian, and his dad is like the most like dry humor, witty guy, and it's so funny. And they're British, so it makes it even funnier for us Americans. I need a show like that, but it's them.
Yes,
just, like traveling the world.
I would love that.
I really want it. Oh my god. See, this is the trouble with like fan fiction type things that we do, because I really want to see it. And I don't want to write it. I want to see it.
Viewers, write the fan fictions.
Yes. We have so many requests out there.
Please.
We do. One person did something and tagged us on AO3. It was amazing. I forget what it was.
Me too.
But they did it.
They did it.
So thank you if you're listening to this.
Fanfiction's so underappreciated. I mean, it's more appreciated now in this day and age, but it's still so underrated for what it is as a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad I finally found people who understand that too, because I was so embarrassed when I was younger for like reading and writing.
Same.
But I'm like, it taught me how to write. It's very great.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I used to write Glee fan fiction in high school, so I mean,
yeah.
There you go.
Please visit online.
What?
Is it online?
I think it's still on fanfiction.net, like the old archive. No, my current AO3
says it to me.
My current AO3 is very different, so that's all Zelda fanfiction.
I will read the Glee fanfiction.
Oh my god, no, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Could it be any worse than Glee? No.
it's 16-year-old me writing it, so it's awful.
Glee was a mess.
Glee was a masterpiece, okay?
Of how to like forget about shit in your own show. Yes, it was a masterpiece.
How to be in high school when you're literally in your 30s. There you go. Yeah.
Also that. Why I hate YA stuff that's made in America, because it's so fucked up the way they actually make it. This is not hating on Glee. I loved Glee. I really loved Glee. A special place in my heart, but like the production of Glee was such a mess.
I love Glee. You can't take it seriously.
You cannot.
I mean, they have a whole episode.
It's not meant to be taken seriously. That's the thing. And then people took it seriously, and it took itself seriously, and it went off the rails. So like, you're not meant to take it seriously. That's the thing.
Yeah, they did try to put in some very heavy topics in there. It was like,
it's like, no, that's not. This is not the place.
The shooting star episode was pretty rough.
I was not. Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
we can talk about that later. Maybe we should do an after dark with Elena and
we should
just talk.
We should do that. Yeah, we should do a hangout session.
I'd be down.
Let's plan to do that.
Talk about Glee in its dark ages or whatever.
My residual trauma from Glee. Yes.
Oh my god. My high school.
We have 3 Glee episodes.
We do.
But Elena's here now, so we have to talk more. And I am always here to talk about it.
Yes, always.
Back to the theme.
Our first Glee episode, hold on, just to go on theme, just ending with this. Our first Glee episode is titled The Good, the Bad, and All the Trauma in Between. So, there you go.
Yeah. Speaking of trauma, I'm trying to segue back. If we remember the trauma that Darcy had in season 2 from their mom kicking them out of the house because she literally walks in on Darcy wearing the suit for prom, trying it on, showing it off, taking pictures for Tara, getting super hyped, and the mom gets all pissed off and is just take that off immediately. Then ends up Darcy stands up for themselves, and the mom kicks him out, says get out of my house, and of course obviously later blames Darcy for having a tantrum. Wow. So the fact that in this scene it's the polar opposite. The grandma literally just tells them, you look handsome, and literally just has that moment. And the fact that she says, now those strong muscles can help me move the table, and while she's shaking the margarita or the martini shaker is so
what a badass. It's just perfect.
Okay, Gran is iconic.
It's iconic.
It's so perfect.
Gran is, I was about to say America's Gran, is the world's Gran.
She
is.
Can America have a clone of her? I was gonna say, can we have her? But I'm no, that's greedy. Can we have
that is
her?
greedy.
Can we have part of her, or does she have a sister or something? I don't know.
Right?
Could you imagine 3 sisters and they're all the same personality and they're just bickering back and forth but in a fun way, and they know they all love each other?
What if they made the Golden Girls
just having lunch
British version, but it's literally just Gran and 3 other versions of her?
Gran and Gran.
It's just 4 Grans in a trench coat.
The Golden Grans.
4 Grans in a trench coat. That's the Golden
That's the name of the show.
But in the scene, Darcy looks so happy, and we've seen Darcy happy, but this is true happiness for them, the biggest smile that we have seen from them in so long. And when Gran is saying all these things use your big muscles, Darcy looks bashful. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a little embarrassed, but loving it because they haven't had this experience. They finally have a parent who loves and accepts and encourages them. And I think this moment in particular will always stick in their mind in the future, just thinking back, being oh, I was accepted by Gran. And I think this just really shows how much Gran accepts Darcy. And Gran doesn't even explicitly say it. It's just the way that Gran naturally behaves around Darcy. It's just normalizes it. And that's what Darcy needed.
Yeah, Darcy finally has a safe space for the gender expression exploration. Whereas, to Elena's point, the parallel, thank you for pointing that out, with Mom last season, Darcy was kind of doing that behind closed doors, in a room. This is Darcy out in the open, just with Gran celebrating Christmas. Very, very polar opposite, and in a good way for Darcy.
Especially because she's already out to her, or they are already out to their grandmother as a lesbian. And the grandmother immediately was just oh,
yeah, whatever.
I don't know that. That's all that her response was to that. So the fact that was the stepping stool for Darcy to be open about them being a lesbian, and then to come to this part where they're exploring their gender identity, and their grandma just immediately makes them feel so safe. So I think that already said a lot from the beginning. The fact that she was so open from the beginning about Darcy as a lesbian. So yeah, Gran's the best.
Yeah. Gran is the best.
Yeah, if you learned anything, We love this Gran.
Gran
Protect her.
Gran and Susan from the last episode.
Yes.
To be friends.
Also Susan.
She should be one of the Golden Girls. Susan should be one of the Golden Girls with Gran.
Yes, I agree. For the reboot we've just made up. Yes.
Another After Dark episode.
Yes.
So while Darcy and Gran are getting their Christmas on, we shoot on over to Tara, who's with her mom and is like in her mom's lap, basically like hugging mom, and mom's gushing about how successful Tara is like becoming and how she's going to make everybody so proud. And like, you know, Tara is like hugging mom and smiling, but like you can just feel her anxiety because like this is the pressure to succeed that's like been building and escalating inside of Tara, and like mom is being loving and genuine about it, but like it's stressing Tara out. You can kind of tell.
I get the vibe that the mom is not the type of mom who's like, you have to be good at all this.
Correct.
She's just very proud, and the way that she's showing it is making Tara feel like she has to keep doing that when she really doesn't have to. But I think that's just Tara is also like wanting to be good, wanting to make people proud. She's the people pleaser in that sense too. Yeah. And when her mom is saying this, after the mom lets go slightly, you do see Tara's face fall for a second, and then she immediately distracts herself with the phone and messages Darcy.
Yeah, the anxiety is for sure there. I think Tara, like to your point, is putting the pressure on herself, basically. That's kind of the problem. So after Tara, we shoot on over to Sahar and Imogen, and we're going to be here for a minute because I have a lot to say about this. Okay, so Tara. The names are rhyme in my brain. Okay, Sahar is composing in her room that's queer AF, and like, I love it. Like, there's like, it's, first of all, this would give me a headache, the way how the cluttering of the decorations, but like, it works for Sahar, good for Sahar. And like, buy pride flag colors all over this room. Go queen. Love that for you. Meanwhile, Imogen is in the middle of like sending selfies, like super straight girl selfies, where it's like that high angle, the puckered lips, arched back, super straight girl pose, right? And she sends it to the group chat. And at first, and Sahar, because like they're all group chatting each other. That's kind of how the montage is all connected. And at first, Sahar looks at it and is like, ugh, and like throws the phone on the bed. Because like these bitches haven't talked since Halloween. And we're now at the end of the year, okay? But then after a minute, she like gives in and then does text like, you look cute, okay? So that's where like Sahar's not over the Imogen crush, okay? But Sahar's at a place where she's like, okay, whatever, I'll just give in, I guess.
Okay. Because Sahar has self-respect too.
Correct. That's part of it. We'll get there, but you're right. Okay. Then we get this cut screen, kind of like the comic book panels, where you have Sahar on one side, Imogen on the other side. So when Sahar sends the text, okay, and then Imogen is in the middle of composing another super, super straight selfie, right? And if you notice, Imogen is all alone when she's doing this. It's not like she's at a party. She's by herself doing all of this, okay? And she's in what looks like to me a closet, so overt metaphor much for the scene. And in the closet, there's an obnoxious amount of pink. Not hating on the color pink, pointing out, though, pink recently very much symbolizes heteronormative femininity. So she's like smothered in this color, basically, in the closet. And she's posing. So this is like everything about this is a performance. The closet, the way the closet looks, the way it's covered in pink, her posing for selfies. For who? For what reason? Okay, by herself. It's not like she's at a party. She's just doing this for the performance of it, for the selfie, like what she told Nick at the Halloween party, right?
Yeah, and it takes her so long to like get to take the photo because she's like trying all these different angles and like moving her head. She's the only one who does this.
Correct. She's performing.
And, like, she's not saying the word like Charlie does, but this is an example of her doing the it will be perfect thing. Like, gotta look perfect. Everything will be fine if I play that role.
She's projecting so hard into the photos. She's overcompensating. That's what she's doing. But when Sahar sends her the text that you're cute because Imogen's alone in this closet, again, metaphor, she processes the text, okay? And her face goes on a journey, like a truth journey. So we get surprise at the text, some fear, and then excitement, okay? Because she like does process it, and there's all the things in there. It was like, oh, I can't believe I'm reading this. And the reflex coming from her self-hatred of like, oh God, I'm getting this text. And then she's by herself, so she can actually like process her actual emotions deep buried beneath the fear, which is the excitement stuff. So I like the sequence. Good on you, actor, for the face journey. It was perfect. And to your point, Caitlin, I find the reactions that Sahar and Imogen both have with this very short sequence to be pretty revealing and pretty interesting. So because Sahar is out as bisexual, she's not shy about the way she feels about Imogen. Like she's annoyed, rightfully so, like because she was rejected. So like her initial reaction is totally justified based on where the characters are out. Because Imogen basically made her a stereotype without realizing it. Like, she was just like, oh, people do that when they're drunk. Like, turning her into, like, some experiment, like, drunk experiment, which Sahar has every right to be pissed off. Like, truly. But Sahar is also alone in this scenario. As far as we can tell, nobody else is in the room with her. So she does, like, pretty quickly process the positive feelings, the crush that she has, and, like, does express them by sending the text. It's much faster for Sahar because she's processed her sexuality part already. It's more so dealing with the crush who's hot and cold, basically, which relatable, you know. Meanwhile, we got Imogen, who is alone right now, and therefore has permission to feel what she's feeling with a lot less shame than if she was in front of an audience, okay? So either way, even if she was in front of people or alone like she is right now, Imogen will never respond to that text. Not right now. But what we do get to see is her processing the feelings from Sahar's text, basically. And that alone is pretty huge for somebody like Imogen, who's currently battling internalized homophobia, basically, and like indoctrinated heteronormativity, basically. That's really hard to like even see the truth of the forest kind of thing.
So you know what I just realized when we're talking about Imogen fitting into the perfect thing? I don't think we talked about this. The choice from last episode that she for Halloween was Barbie. And Barbie is like a figure of perfection and has been for like for like since the conception of the Barbie dolls. Like Barbie in like media. Ringo, sorry, he just decided to use a scratcher right this second. The fact that Barbie has been depicted as a symbol of perfection and like for a lot of younger girls has been like what they want to be. They want to be skinny, they want to have big boobs like Barbie, they want to be pretty like Barbie. The fact that Imogen chose to go as Barbie for Halloween just kind of like adds to that whole she wants to be perfect mindset. Like, holy shit, I just realized that. Like that choice for her.
It's very true, but then without knowing it, if you watch the Barbie movie,
exactly,
Imogen very accidentally was like embodying a character who goes on a journey of self-discovery and ultimately rejects the heteronormativity that was imposed on them. So it works on many levels. It was very brilliant. I feel like Alice did
Cue
it.
the Billie Eilish song.
She symbolizes like Barbie from like the traditional dolls, but she accidentally becomes Margot Robbie's Barbie.
Yes, exactly.
Heading over to Tao's house, he is changing in front of Elle because he has no body image issues whatsoever. And he teases her about enjoying the view. She likes what she likes. So then they start making out and they move it over to the bed. Okay. But wait, before they get back into it, Tao has to remove her glasses. Do you think that this is going to make him fall more in love with her because he'll be able to see her eyes without glasses in the way?
I hate this trope. I hate it so much. No, because Tao is the best and doesn't need to do that.
I like to think that that's just a nod back to season 2, when they're at Tara's party and she took off the glasses before they kept making out. I like to think that that's all it was, but
I hope so.
Maybe it is a trope. I have no idea. But it's their trope.
We've just been watching a lot of Thai shows where they don't see their attraction to them until the glasses come off.
I can't.
And all of a sudden, it's a new person.
Very early, like 2000s / like 90s trope. It's so like.
That's what I mean. It's a trope to like demonstrate. Oh, I'm seeing the real you, but it's like. People can be hot with glasses on. I can't.
I don't know about you guys.
Tao is more practical where it's like, I don't want to break your glasses by accident.
I think it's all with Tao. I was like, I don't know about you guys, but I think people with glasses are attractive, so.
I agree. I think it makes people more attractive. I totally agree.
I think Tao's like, I don't trust myself around these things.
Right.
So
that's very fair, yeah.
And then Tao's hands start roaming, and when he touches... I keep saying Tara. When I was doing my notes, I kept writing Tara by accident.
Okay.
Terrible with names for some reason. Okay, so when he touches Elle's breast over her clothes, Elle starts to get uncomfortable and immediately stops it. Which Tao goes into, sorry, I didn't mean to, sorry, and just keeps apologizing. Because this is the last guy who would want to pressure or push Elle into doing something that she doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, he's appalled, like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done this. Which, you're good, dude. You're okay, Tao. But Tao's such a good guy.
He is.
The best straight dude.
He's the best straight dude ever. I love Tao.
He's the token straight friend, so.
I know, but the best one, though. Like, of all the straight friends, he's the best straight person ever.
He is the token straight friend, and he is also the actual supportive straight friend.
Yes.
That everybody thought Nick was.
God. He's the Papa Bear. Yeah, everyone thought Nick was. Yeah, you're right. Well, actually.
Well, yeah.
So to figure out everything that happened and just process things, they go for a walk. But Tao does let Elle have a few seconds alone. Like, he just leaves the room. I think he was like, I think we just need a second to just process what is happening right now. And she's trying to process, because I don't think that she understands what's happening in her brain. It was just something that was just like, no. And so it's a time where this is something to work through, something that's never come up before. And their relationship is growing. They are growing as people together.
Yeah, I really enjoy this plotline with Elle. We'll get into it more when they actually like kind of talk about what happened, but it had to have been a jarring experience for Elle, because like, how did this scene start where she's like undressing Tao with her eyes and then like has this reaction that I don't think she knew she was going to have, to your point, where like something was triggered in her and she just like froze and just like suddenly felt really uncomfortable. And like, I think this was as surprising for Tao as it was for Elle, but Tao handled it like a perfect boy. Like, he was just like, oh, okay, I don't know what I just did. I don't know what just happened. I'm sorry. Let's go for a walk and cool off and maybe just talk about what just happened in a minute. Like, perfect way to handle that. But like, yeah, poor Elle. Like, because you gotta see her processing at the end and she's like, what the fuck even just happened? Like, yeah, I think she's as jarred by it by Tao is, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I love that Tao doesn't like try to separate himself from her. He doesn't try to like just get up and walk away from the situation, because that'd like probably be part of the anxiety. It's just like, oh god, did we just totally ruin things?
Yeah, is he abandoning me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like in his case, he probably thinks, oh my god, I just totally fucked up, whatever, like, and then he has to leave or whatever. He actually just tries to be like, oh, okay, so this is not good. This is not the energy that we want. So let's go do something else. Okay. The fact that his idea is, let's go for a walk instead, something that they probably do all the time. So he knows that it's something she's comfortable with, obviously. So it's like, let's go do that. So I like that's like what he resorts to.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. I know. And then we cut back to the freaking Spring family after this. God. And of course, here we are in the living room. The uncle is like asking Charlie about how he's doing, his time in the clinic. First of all, Granddad is now completely passed out in the corner. He is just like sleeping, like out like a light. Probably just from one single beer. Man can't hold his liquor, I bet. No.
It's probably for the best, given this conversation, that Granddad's passed out.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
I just want to point out, why am I literally just now noticing Oliver is like right on the far right of the scene? I have never noticed him until now, and I feel so bad that I've never realized he was there until literally yesterday when I rewatched it. I was like, oh, but he like, if anything, it's just kudos to Jensen, the little actor who plays him. Does such a great job just blending in. He doesn't like try to stick out as the character. He's just doing his thing. He's playing with a tractor. Like he's in character, but he's not like trying to steal the show. He's doing his thing. And then it's like that just shows like he's doing a great job as an actor, like being part of the scene but not stealing it. So the fact that he's hanging out. He's there, but he's doing his own thing. But the fact that the uncle like asks Charlie how he's doing, and then he doesn't even really give Charlie much time to answer. He just kind of immediately jumps into conclusions that he has about those kind of clinics, like, oh, you just hear horror stories. So the fact that he's like, you can't imagine being in a place like that for Christmas, and Charlie, all he can think of is just like, well, they decorated it, so I mean, that was nice. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, of course, but you just hear horror stories. And it's like, yeah, Charlie probably did hear the horror stories. Nick heard the horror stories that we saw in last episode. He read about them. Charlie probably had heard about them at some point. So yeah, it sounds like the uncle is doing like the stereotypical thing. He's playing a person that acts like they know what they're talking about when they don't. Ignorance, if you will. I think, if I remember right, this is probably Jane's brother. I think.
You're probably right.
If it is, it makes so much sense why he is the way he is. Given who raised him and Jane. It's very ignorant talk, very much. Honestly, just kind of talking out his ass about this kind of shit. So,
and confidently too.
Yeah.
Which is the annoying part.
Yeah. He clearly doesn't know anything about how it actually works. He just knows what he's heard. He's never done any actual research on it.
It's what he saw on Facebook, you know?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like the third, fourth, fifth hand telling of the story.
Right.
And it's like 3 lines, not even like looking to see if it's accurate or if someone was joking.
Yeah. And the fact that he lists white walls and straitjackets. He probably got that from like movies and shit. Like,
right.
Yeah, that's probably where he got that from, which is just like, okay. Yeah, you heard horror stories. It's a movie.
It's called a movie.
Wow.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Good job, buddy.
Yeah. And of course, the cousin, again, cannot remember her name because it doesn't matter. She asked, did you meet anyone like really crazy in there?
God.
I'm like, personally, I think Tori had the perfect opportunity to make a snarky remark about her being crazy or something. Boy, did that girl hold her freaking tongue. She probably just wanted to have a good Christmas, didn't want to start shit. So, but yeah, girl had so much self-control in that moment. You could tell. So, oof.
A good joke would be, yeah, I met myself.
That would have been funny too. So, they totally
wouldn't know what to do with that comment.
Yeah,
if they would have been like, to be honest, they would have shut the fuck up. He said that.
Yeah, if anything, that would have been perfect because it would have shut them up.
Yeah.
Oh, Charlie had a perfect opportunity, but
poor baby.
Yeah,
he's triggered right now.
I don't know if Charlie is he at that point where he can make those kind of jokes, like, and is it in Charlie's nature? It's hard. I don't know if it's in Charlie's nature to make those jokes.
I don't think Charlie would be the type of person. Tori
would absolutely say that.
Tori for sure. Charlie probably not. Yeah. But yeah, Tori 100% would do it. Yeah, and meanwhile, Charlie doesn't do much in the way of like standing up for himself to the family in this scene. which is a stark contrast considering how he has stood up for himself in the past by two people who have hurt him, especially Ben. Like he did somewhat to Harry last season for bullying him. He mostly stood up to Harry for bullying Nick, but he really stood up to Ben for the way that Ben hurt him. And so it's a very interesting contrast here that he doesn't really say anything. Partially probably just because he wants to have a good Christmas. He doesn't want to start drama, just like Tori. But also standing up to your family is hard. It's like one of the hardest things. So, plus Charlie probably doesn't get the best example from his mom about standing up for yourself. So, yeah. Charlie, of course, getting to a point in this, he feels genuinely very uncomfortable by these questions. He gets up, says, "I'm gonna go get a drink," and he leaves. The fact that the uncle just goes, "Well, he's back to normal. It's almost like nothing ever happened." And Tori, just the look on her face, you can just see everything that she's thinking in that moment. I'm just like, ugh. So, almost like nothing ever happened. Wow. Yeah, for you maybe.
Right.
For you, nothing ever happened because you weren't even here, first of all. I had like such secondhand rage for these two in this scene. And I think that just goes to show like how well this scene was made. Because I think that's what they wanted us to feel.
Oh, absolutely.
So well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like in this next scene, when Charlie goes to the kitchen, things kind of start to escalate a little bit. The tension between Charlie and his mom. She like tries to apologize for people like saying shit. She goes, "Not everyone understands what you've been through." And Charlie has the perfect answer. He just goes, "So I have to put up with ignorant comments from my own family?" Like, for real, dude. Like, I get it. And the answer is no, you shouldn't. But it's so hard. Like, family is hard to stand up to, especially because he is trying to have a good time with this Christmas, but it's obviously not happening. So.
Yeah, I get it. But I really hate when people say things like that because it's like, okay, fine, they don't understand, but they could try to, or be aware that, the person that they're talking to is uncomfortable and like not just, they're so self-involved. And like some other like typical things that along this line are like, they are from older generation. That's just the way they are. And it's like just dismissing the fact rather than helping the person, like, first of all, process what's going on and like figure out a way to get through this interaction rather than just be like, oh, get over it. That's just the way that this person is. You know what it's like. But why are we taught to tolerate it rather than stand up for ourselves?
Dang.
And because it's just dismissing his feelings to make Jane feel more comfortable in this situation because it will just create less friction in the family, which is what Jane is anxious about. So really, she's looking out for her own self here instead of her son.
Yeah. Yeah, and after this, she's like, she says, how about a snack? We're not gonna have tea for a couple hours. How about a snack? Immediately jumping into trying to make things about food, and you could tell where her brain is with Charlie in that regard. And Charlie, of course, immediately is triggered by this, and he goes, "Can you stop pestering me about food?" Like, and he gets like visibly irritated by this. And it seems like she's been doing quite a bit of it tonight, where she is focusing on food, but and understandably so, of course. But it's definitely not helping Charlie. The thing is that she is trying. She really is trying, and she wants to not make things worse. And so the fact that seeing him get so progressively angry, I gotta imagine what she's feeling. Like she's like spiraling. She doesn't know what to do. So she's probably feeling so helpless. But my thing is like, has she ever, this is probably partially to blame because of her upbringing too, but has she ever tried to ask him what he wants. Because that's kind of the thing is, I think it seems like there's a lot of assumptions about, oh, you need this. And I think maybe that's just kind of part of like being a parent. Like one of the things that a lot of parents do, it's very common, is just like assuming you know what your kid needs. And sometimes having to acknowledge that you don't always know. And sometimes you need to ask because your kid knows. And like being able to trust your kid to communicate that. In her defense, I don't know if Charlie has those tools to be able to communicate that. If she did ask, I don't know if he would know like how to express what he needs, or if he would even be able to express it with his constant like struggle to feel like he's a burden. Would he even be able to express what he needs? But it does seem like there is a lot of assuming going on. So
I don't think people are really like taught that they can ask other people what they need, because that was like a huge revelation in like group therapy in general too. Like, oh, you can just ask them what they want, what they need from you, and then just do that instead of trying to guess. We very much as a society are just like we're just assuming like how people think of us, what they need, what we should be doing, and not just actually talking about it.
Yeah.
No one's really great at communicating.
But then on the flip side, in America, with the rugged individualism shit, you're also taught that asking for help is weakness. So then, like, on the other side, the other person is taught and indoctrinated to not respond to that question because that shows weakness. So then there is miscommunication happening because, like,
yeah.
So it's
always like, I'm fine. I don't need anything.
Right.
I can handle it.
Especially with Charlie. What does Charlie do? Every time you're like, Charlie, what's wrong? How can I help? He's always like, I'm fine. Like, he shuts it down. So, like, I think mom is just like, you're not going to talk to me, so I have to make assumptions. So it's like, we reinforce bad behavior by nobody really communicating or people shutting down. And it's like, it's not good or bad. It's like, sometimes, like, it's hard to talk about stuff. You're not ready for it. And, like, you do shut down like Charlie does. So it's like, this is just kind of what happens when people are in those headspaces. Like, it's not good or bad. It's just humans do this. So
yeah, I don't even think I was introduced to the phrase "what can I do" until like I was in like high school or college, even maybe. Like somebody asking, "What can I do to help you?" Can I help you in some way? I don't even know if I was introduced to that mindset until I was like older. So that's just such a wild idea.
Well, it also makes sense because, like, as you grow, like, you know, when you're an adolescent into pubescent, like, it's very much me, what I want, what I need, my needs, and communicating that to other people. Like, we don't really transition into helping like, thinking about other people and empathizing in a way that can be, like, you know, constructive like this until we're adults, really, because, like, a lot of that is just, like, you're very you-focused until you get into, like, middle school, high school, and then you have to, like, start interacting with other people and then forming different kind of relationships. Then it becomes like, oh, what about the other person? Like, is it part of becoming an adult, really? And, like, Charlie is still a child, you know, so he's still very much in the me. That's part of this whole episode, too. It's very much, he thinks about him. He's not really thinking about the other people, which, again, he's in a situation where he's uncomfortable. Like, he's not thinking about making his family comfortable. He's thinking about him. He's being triggered. He's focusing on him. But, like, there are other people existing outside of Charlie. And my favorite thing about this scene in particular is when they're having the argument, who's the specter in the room? Tori. And the way the, like, camera is framed is you have Charlie, Jane, and then in the middle is Tori, who's out of focus. So, like, nobody is taking Tori into consideration and how all this shit is actually traumatizing her. So it's like, there's no right, there's no wrong. We just, you know, we're social creatures who, like, when we get too much in our heads, we do affect other people and we don't see it. And it's like, Tori's the prime example of the person being ignored, put on the sidelines during this whole thing. Again, how do we start the episode? Tori seems like she's depressed today. Nobody's acknowledged Tori. Like, Charlie didn't ask, hey, Tori, why aren't you sleeping? Doesn't even ask his sister. Like, that's weird. Why are you not okay? Like, no, Charlie's so much about me right now that, like, nobody else. It's just, which annoys the shit out of me. But, like, I understand where he's coming from. I really do. But, like, there's other people here too, you know?
To your point of her being, like, in the background, But she's still in the middle of them too. Like she's
in the middle of all of this drama. And I mean Spectre as in like ghost. Nobody sees her. She's a ghost. Like nobody acknowledges Tori and the shit she's going through. Nobody.
Unless they need her to bridge the gap, which is why I think she's in the middle and not off to the side.
Yeah, she's trapped in the middle, but nobody notices her like she's a ghost. I feel bad for her. But
yeah.
Anyway.
The one time that she tries to step in while things are escalating, she's trying to suggest that, like, oh, maybe we could go play Mario Kart. Oliver wants to, but because she knows that would take Charlie's mind off of this, it would be able to be like a good distraction. She knows it's something Charlie enjoys, it's something that Charlie's good at, and they like Oliver wants to play, and so it's like it'd be a really great thing. And immediately the mom cuts her off and is like, look, I know it's been stressful. You only ate half your dinner. Again, bringing it back to the food aspect, which again is making Charlie feel even worse. And I don't think Jane realizes at this point that all that she's doing is doubling down on the way that she's stressing Charlie out. Because I think she, in her own mind, she is spiraling. Because again, she feels like she's just fucking up. And she doesn't know what to do. But she's also stressing him out because she's not hearing him because she's so in her own spiral. So when he says, you're making me feel worse, it's just like kind of a pinnacle of like, it's to the point where she's like, fine, I'm sorry I tried. And then she storms off.
I wonder if she has OCD. Now that you just mentioned all that stuff, because this feels to
Possibly.
me like she's losing control of the situation, and so because of that she's doubling down. And like Charlie's doing the same thing because like he's spiraling and losing control of like this was supposed to be normal. So then they both double down and then they don't communicate or can't compromise. And Tori's like, let's compromise, and they're like, no, because they're both triggered in the scene. So I wonder if she has undiagnosed OCD now that we're like talking about this.
Very possible.
Yeah.
I get where she's coming from when she like says, fine, I'm sorry I even tried. I get where she's coming from big time. She probably has like that feeling like she is failing so hard.
Yes.
Especially with her parents in the other room. Good God.
Yes.
But like the fact that she feels like she's failed as a daughter because she'll never win with her parents. But now she feels like she's once again failed as a mom because but it's not just an excuse to walk away. So it's kind of like, yeah, it definitely could have been handled better. But I understand why she feels the way she does. So.
And to your point, she's like learning how to like better communicate with Charlie, and she is trying, to your point, but like it's a process for her to learn how to deal with that because like we keep mentioning, she has shit that she needs to process that she hasn't processed personally, so it's like affecting her relationship with Charlie, and I don't think she realizes it. But yeah, like they're on a journey to like repair their relationship, and it's like it takes time. She's not magically gonna like know how to communicate with him immediately. Like it's gonna take time too, and they're still in that transition period. So it's like they're gonna have good days and bad days with their communication as they like learn. Same thing with Charlie, like learns how to deal with his mom better. Like they it's kind of like it's just gonna take time, and this is like a bad day basically.
Yeah, I mean she could also be blaming herself for his issues.
Totally.
So like he just got home, so now like all the things that he learned how to like handle like his emotions and like what's happening, she isn't actually helping with that. She's kind of hurting that with the way that she's speaking. So basically both of them just need to take a break and not talk about this right now until they're able to just take a deep breath and not be triggered.
Yeah, of course, naturally Charlie, after the mom walks away, Charlie also walks away. Charlie decides he's had enough of this shit, and he decides, what does he always do? He runs to Nick for what he needs. So he leaves for Nick's house, and Tori, of course, instead of anybody else in this family, it's Tori who follows him and tries to stop him. So.
And we have arrived at my Tori rant because this scene breaks my heart because she follows him to the door. Because what is Charlie doing? Charlie's trying to go to his safe space. right? Like to your point, Caitlin, they need to diffuse that, they need to calm down. So Charlie is like, I need to physically leave. So he tries to leave, and then Tori follows him to the door and then breaks my heart with her plea of, can't you at least spend Christmas with me? Because in his quest to like better his mental health, he's like abandoning Tori basically in this scene,
causing her more distress.
Correct.
It just shows even more that Tori's alone, because again, in the previous scene that we were talking about, in the frame, she's so small and far away, and like it's showing that even when she's with her family, she's alone.
Yes. Nobody sees her. She's the ghost, the specter. Nobody sees her. And so in this scene, basically, once again, Tori, her well-being is being put aside for Charlie's. And with that line of, can't you at least spend Christmas with me? It seems to me that she is reaching some kind of breaking point with her mental health / well-being. And so after she delivers the line, Charlie turns around. And the way he's looking at her, it's almost like he's seeing her for the first time. Like the ghost became corporeal. And it's like, oh. And I think their sibling relationship, and this is not judging any of these characters, this is just my outsider perspective. I think in their relationship, the fact that Tori's my big sister and looks out for me is something that Charlie, it feels so familiar to him that he doesn't even notice it anymore. And that happens when things become so familiar, you just don't notice them. And because of that, I think Tori feels super alone in their relationship in particular. And you see that how much she loves her brother. And so it's really sad. And because she points out in this conversation, Charlie's like, well, I'm going to Nick because Nick treats me like a normal person. And she says, so do I. Like, she points out that she's like, I am also a safe space for you. I've always been a safe space for you even longer than Nick. And yet you're ditching me. And consistently, Charlie chooses Nick over Tori every single time.
Yeah, which is heartbreaking when you think about it, because like obviously Tori is she's literally his older sister, which means she's known him literally since the day he was born. She knows Charlie inside and out as much as any person can, because she's been with him literally since the first day he came into the world. Way before Charlie met Nick ever. He's known Nick for like maybe a year. Not even a year at this point. Like still a little under a year. He's known Nick at all. So it's like the fact that Tori knows him so well and yet he chooses Nick. That's gotta be heartbreaking for her.
I mean, Tori's just being taken for granted because she has been there. He just expects her to be there. So he doesn't have to worry about that part of his life. Like, she'll just be there, but he's not seeing that he needs to reciprocate that and see the other person. Again, because, like you said, like, he's still in the me phase of life. But he really needs to reciprocate, especially right now, because she's literally pleading with him. Like, can't you at least stay with me? Like, when someone's telling you, like, why can't you just choose me? Like, she never asked for anything either.
No.
Except Diet Lemonade.
You know what this relationship reminds me of? This is Agatha and Rio. With the way Agatha takes advantage of Rio always being there until you get to the breaking point where it's like, yeah, no, enough. That's kind of what's happening with Tori. And because Tori embodies the role of eldest sister so well, Charlie has like never seen her as really anything other than this formidable protector that's always there for him. And I think their roles as like protective older sister, younger brother, really blinded Charlie from seeing what's right in front of him. And so, and what Tori really is in this moment is somebody that needs his support as much as he needs hers. And so it really breaks my heart that he leaves her behind. He actively chooses not to be with her in this scene because he's leaving her to a fate of being trapped with all the same relatives that were making him uncomfortable. And the sad part is that Tori does not have a Nick to escape to. She's trapped in this house. Like, there's nowhere for her to go. Like, and I hate that for her.
And he willingly left when you can clearly see that she's about to cry.
No, he sees her getting upset, and then chooses himself over her, like, again. And it really makes me upset for Tori. And I have a lot of feelings.
She deserves better.
She deserves so much better. Like, she's just actively ignored constantly. Like, pisses me off. Anyway, so that's that. So Charlie does ditch Tori and then goes to Nick's. And by the time he arrives, it's raining. And I really hope they got these shots pretty quickly and poor Joe wasn't cold in the rain because that sounds terrible.
They always film them like completely soaked in rain or whatever.
And he was outside coming in, so like I imagine he was cold. Like, poor Joe.
And we all know this was all filmed in the winter, like in the fall and winter months. So it's just like, oh my god.
I feel so bad for him. So I hope this was quick and they got this very quickly because like I hope he was okay. Anyway, so Nick is obviously worried when he sees Charlie all wet at his door, but Charlie explains, listen, I got into an argument with my mom. So naturally he comes to a safe space. That's why he's here. And Nick's like, okay. And he like comforts Charlie in the doorway and they make out for like a hot second until like catcalling happens and they turn around and Nick's entire family is like not so subtly being like, yay, is this the boyfriend? Like, oh my god. The way they were like ninth wheeling them was so adorable and cute.
And Dan's like, I take it this is the boyfriend. Like, girl, I sure hope it is, or else Nick's got a lot of explaining to do.
Oh my god, could you imagine? And Nick's like, well, she's like, boy.
So about Charlie, we're not together anymore, huh?
Sit down now.
That'd be a plot twist. Yikes.
Oh my god. This family, though, the Nelsons are fucking adorable. Let's say that. And what are they? They're the foil to the Springs, right? Because they accept Charlie into the family immediately with like a giant hug and like pull him into the room, right into the festivities. And one thing I love about this is like when you get the shot of the Nelsons, like in the background, there's all this golden light bathing them, which is like gives you like this warm, safe kind of feeling. Cause like they're the happy, loving family that just ask no questions and they give Charlie the normal Christmas that he so much, he was craving, right? And you get that right off the bat.
Oh man, you say that, Theora, and the fact that like on the opposite end of the hallway is literally the dark and the rain.
Yeah,
oh right. Man. What a great shot. What a great choice.
I know. Again, you guys geniuses put this together. And I love it so much.
Artistes.
So Charlie soaking wet little puppy dog. Nick's like, let's change that. So he takes him into his room to like change, right? Because freezing. And he's like, here's a jumper. It's mine. You'll love this. And then Charlie's like, okay, Nick, but I'm going to need you to turn around because like body dysmorphia. And poor Nick. And then we get this like, Nick is confused, but then he's like, okay, yeah, respectful boyfriend. So he turns around because like we know Charlie has body issues, like, but Nick, I don't think Nick knows that really. He's getting a kind of a taste of this, but he with no explanation. So I think Nick's a little like, am I making him uncomfortable? Like, what's like? I don't think Nick fully understands what this is, but he's respectful about what Charlie asks of him in this moment.
Yeah, when Charlie like goes to like grab a shirt, Nick's just like smiling at him, like, yeah, okay. This is whatever.
Yeah.
And so like I think he's under the impression from like given like they've been in rugby together, so they probably changed in the changing rooms. And also just like from episode 1 of the season, like the beach, and like he was teasing Charlie about peeking at him while he was shirtless and everything. Like given that level of comfortability, Nick probably just assumed like it's reciprocated. That's just both ways. Like whatever, I don't care if you change in front of me. He just assumes that Charlie doesn't mind. And so when Charlie asks for him to look away, he's like genuinely surprised, confused, but then he just kind of goes, oh yeah, okay. So doesn't question it.
But I also love the teenage boy aspect of Nick because he keeps going like jerking his head because he's like, I want to be respectful, but I also want to peep because it's allowed. And you see him like fighting himself, like it's very teenage boy. I love it because I think Nick does not know about Charlie's like body dysmorphia because or he never really put it together because even when they were at the beach and he's like, let's go in the water, and Charlie's like, I don't want to take my shirt off. Nick was like, whatever, like leave it on, because the excuse could be like, in Nick's brain, he's like, I burn. So, like, Charlie wouldn't want to burn. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go. Like, I don't think he's putting those things together.
Like, he doesn't have sunscreen on, so maybe he doesn't want to That makes sense, yeah.
Right, like, I think he would brush that off mentally, but, like, this was like a, "Oh, oh," and to your point too, they've changed in front of each other, but Carly's like, different context, remember he told Isaac? So, like, yeah, so this was pretty jarring, but Nick was very funny, and when he's like, "I wanna look, though."
So, you know what that scene reminds me of? Is in the second Spider-Man movie, this Tom Holland Spider-Man in, Far From Home, when he's, like, changing in front of Mary Jane, or, like, she turns around, but she tries to peek, and then at some point, she turns all the way around, and Ned is standing in the doorway. Like, "What are you doing?" It reminded me so much of that. I'm just like, what
That's
if,
so
like,
funny.
what if somebody was, like, in the, like, what if it was just Nelly? If it was literally just Nelly or Henry.
That would be so funny if it was
just in
Nelly.
the doorway, like,
You're
"What
like,
you
"Oh."
doing, Nick?" It's so funny.
Nick's like, "Damn it, Nelly, judging me."
Caught, busted. What are you doing?
Alright, so Charlie gets the jumper on, and then Nick insists, "You look real cute in that salmon sweater, I love it." Nick asks Charlie, he's like, "Listen, before we go downstairs, do you wanna talk? Like, we're alone. Do you wanna talk about, because 'cause you're upset." And Charlie declines because he just wants to have a nice day, which, like, understandable. He just came from a stressful environment. He's like, "I just wanna be happy right now," which totally fine. And he, like, hugs Nick like a lifeline. Then we get this montage of Charlie just, like, having fun with the Nelsons, and he meets Henry for the first time, and it's really the first time in the entire episode that Charlie looks relaxed and happy, and so I'm glad that this is in here to kind of break up or transition out of the stressfulness that we were with a lot of this episode.
Yeah, like, definite highlights of this montage, especially, like, first of all, getting to properly meet Aunt Diane was really cute.
Oh, yes, that's
Especially
cute.
because she knows, like, about everything that Charlie's been through. I don't know if she knows anything about, like, the aftermath, about him going to clinic or anything, but, like, she knows, like, what he was dealing with and everything. So, um, just getting to properly meet the boyfriend, after all this time is probably very exciting for her. But also, when Charlie gets to actually properly meet Henry is really cute. He goes up and he licks Charlie's face, and I feel like this moment was unscripted. I feel like that was completely unintentional because the reaction looks very genuine. That seems like a genuine, like, stunned reaction from Joe, like, "Oh, hello." So that was very funny.
That's cute.
And then after that, it looks like they go back up to Nick's room. The fact that they, like, went up and disappeared to Nick's room again, then eventually come back down and then go back up to his room again or whatever is just really funny to me. The fact that they just keep disappearing in Nick's room. They're like, "Oh, we probably should go back before they ask where we are." So that's just funny to me. But it looks like
This would never happen at Charlie's house.
no, absolutely
No,
not. They wouldn't even
absolutely
let
not.
him leave. So
Yeah.
it seems like they might have exchanged gifts, but they definitely looks like they exchanged cards. Which is really cute that one of the cards it looks like their pinkies, like when their pinkies were touching in season 1. It looks like a drawing of it.
Aw.
Maybe Elle did it or something. I don't know. I just thought it was really cute, a really cute attention to detail back to season 1. And they're like, it cuts to them, they're like full on making out on Nick's bed. Like, and Nick or Charlie pulls away and he's like, "We haven't kissed like that in so long." Which, boy, it could literally be like 3 days and you would say it's been so long. But,
Listen, yes.
but to be fair to him, it's probably been like months. It's probably literally been months since they've actually gotten to, like, properly kiss like this, like, just alone. So, and then we cut to the next part where they're playing games. Nick and Charlie are sitting, like, eating toast. And it's really cute because they're just, like, talking, they're laughing. So I found out from an interview that they were, like, saying, because apparently they knew that there was going to be music played over it, they were going to dub over it. So Kit was purposely saying, like, very inappropriate things. And if you also watch the bloopers from this scene, it's also really funny because there's a point where Kit, like, as Nick was just, like, saying, like, really unhinged stuff, and Joe's just laughing, and he goes, "This isn't funny, Joe. I mean Charlie. I meant Charlie."
I think you're talking, like, dildos at one point while they're just eating toast. It was, like, really random shit that Kit was saying. It was super funny.
He said dildo at some point, and they had to dub over it so it sounded like something else. So he had to do, like, an ADR over that. so that it didn't sound like that word. So it was just funny.
It's so funny. It worked pretty well. Like the ADR did a good job, but yeah, oh my God,
it was fine.
hilarious.
But just funny knowing that. It's just like, oh my God, these boys. It's funny knowing, especially from, I think it was from that same interview, one of the director's notes they got a lot was this scene, like the way that they were acting. It seems more like Kit and Joe than it is Nick and Charlie. So the fact that, I don't know, just where's the line between these two besties bantering and saying shit just to make each other laugh, and then two boys in love who just are comfortable with each other? Like, if that's not what this relationship literally is just two best friends laughing together, what is it? It's just Nick and Charlie.
It's just Nick and Charlie.
So, but yeah, that scene, after knowing all that context, is incredibly funny.
It's so funny. If you haven't seen the bloopers, go check them out. They're really good.
They're so funny. They're longer than the last two seasons too. They made them longer, so because everybody was asking for it. So they're so funny.
I haven't seen them yet. So after the montage, Nick and Charlie are watching Doctor Who with Nick's cousins on the couch.
And it's 10. My favorite.
it's David Tennant. Okay, I will just say, if you guys haven't seen the comic, there's a mini comic that Alice did a while back of Nick and Charlie were watching Good Omens. And he says, David Tennant's kind of hot. And then, like, literally they go to bed later that night and he goes, Charlie, I think I realize why I love Doctor Who so much. I think David Tennant's really hot.
I love that so much.
It's so funny. And it makes the scene even funnier just knowing that, like, when in their relationship did that scene happen? But also,
good point.
Is this where Nick realizes, hey, David Tennant's kind of hot? Because, oh my God. So I genuinely, when this scene came on, I cackled. I was just like, oh my God. So also the fact that when Charlie gets the text from Tori, he, like, you just hear in the background the doctor go, Donna! Like, you want to talk about a slap in the face of nostalgia? Because, like, I think I watched that when I was in, like, high school, like, so over 10 years ago. Like, talk about making me feel old. My God.
I know, interesting choice as that's the Christmas special they're watching, because, like, that's not the current Christmas specials that would be airing. So, I to your point, I think it's a nod to all the David Tennant stuff from Alice. Oh, look, he's best doctor. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Charlie has Henry on his lap, so the little guy definitely got a hug.
He did.
But something I'm a little sad about, like, so far in this episode up to this point, we're kind of seeing Henry replace Nellie. And, like, it's just a lot of focus on Henry, which I get, but we haven't seen Nellie at all yet.
We do. We see Nellie eventually.
No, I said yet.
Yes.
But we need a scene where, like, Nellie met her new brother. I thought that would be really cute.
It'd be really cute.
To, like, involve Nellie, so it wasn't like, oh, I have this new dog now. This is who's here. Anyway. But Charlie then gets Instagram messages from Tori. I believe it's Instagram.
Of course it is.
It's always Instagram.
It's always Instagram.
And it's basically Tori saying that she's coming over to Nick's, and she's walking there now. She's almost there. So get ready. And then while they go to wait for Tori at the door, Nick and Charlie find David dramatically leaning against the doorway with the door open, waiting for his no-show father, while also racking up Olivia Colman's heating bill.
Literally, what a bitch. I can't stand him.
Like, why do we have this door open? He's like, I want outside. The heat still.
He's the worst.
But, like, he wants the coziness of the inside.
I hate him.
This is just the trend, not shutting the door behind them. So people, this happens in movies a lot. People just don't shut the door behind them. It's just funny.
That is true.
Oh my God.
But for Nick, I don't think he understands why David is hung up on this, because Nick has never been close to his dad. So he's just like, all right, good riddance. If you want to come back, fine, but I'm good.
Yeah, Nick probably at least at this point, doesn't he couldn't care less about the validation from his dad.
Yes.
It does seem like at some point, back in season 2, we did see a little bit of the disappointment. He felt very hopeful when he got to Paris about spending time with his dad and immediately got disappointed. So I wonder if he's kind of just at that point now, especially because he knows he's happy with himself now, and having gotten to that point where he's happy with his bisexuality and everything. He knows who he is, at least to that degree. He has a very supportive partner. He has a very supportive mother, and a very supportive group of friends. He has a whole ass community now that he didn't have as strong last season. That's kind of been progressively more strong. So I can kind of understand why he doesn't see the point, because he hasn't needed it at all. So
I think Paris was the breaking point for him to be like, okay, there's no relationship really here.
Yeah, all he knows is Nick likes rugby, and that's it, and assumes that Nick likes girls, and that's it. Which he does, but it's a lot deeper than that. Yeah, he says something about, you have a whole family in this house who are wanting to spend time with you, and David immediately goes, "Dad is family," and it's like, okay, sure. But Nick, in retort, says, "I think family are the people who actually give a shit." Which, that's the part where it's like, you can't choose who defined your family at birth, obviously. You can't necessarily define that, but you can choose who you call your family. And so I think that's a big thing that Nick has kind of been able to grow into, especially having this friend group. He knows who his found family is. Charlie is basically his family as the supportive partner. And then I almost feel like even Charlie's family is kind of becoming part of Nick's family. Just through Charlie.
Particularly Tori.
Yeah, Tori especially is becoming probably the sister he never had.
Yeah.
So, which I love. So, yeah. And of course, speaking of Tori, Tori appears. She goes full Wednesday Addams on this shit. She just appears in the umbrella, from the Wednesday promo art from the TV, the Netflix show. Just full on Jenna Ortega appears with a black umbrella, goes, "Merry Christmas." And David just, he nopes out. He's like, "Okay, bye," because he remembers what happened last season. He remembers the phone. He remembers what she did, as he should.
Right.
So
yeah, never forget, dude.
Never forget phone gate.
Taught him nothing, but he won't forget it.
Never.
That was so funny. What a little bitch that he is, really, at the core of it.
Well, Tori gets invited in. She didn't give him a choice, but so now Tori's sitting on the couch with Nick and Charlie, and they're all talking. And Tori says to Charlie, "You left me to fend for myself against our cousins." And Oliver is upset because no one will play Mario Kart with him. I had to add the Oliver one because, that's a big deal. Oliver just wanted one thing. He is so good with his tractor in the corner. All he wanted to do was play a game of Mario Kart, and we couldn't even give that to him. Anyway, the most important part of the sentence was, "You left me to fend for myself." And props to Tori for telling Charlie what he is doing to her, because she could have easily just been like, "Fine, I'll take it. I know he's struggling." But she's like, "No, he needs to know that he abandoned me." And so that's how she's feeling right now. He needs to figure that out because, Tori needs him. She needs someone. Okay. At least now we get the dogs together. They're very much separated. I wonder if there's some animosity between the two of them, or if they like to play too much, or that's just the blocking. But either way, we do get to see both dogs, and that is nice. However, I think we need to include Nellie and Henry together more. But Tori is holding Henry now.
Yeah.
So I think Tori's now the little guy who needs a hug.
Definitely.
And I think that Olivia Colman is going to get Henry registered as a therapy dog as soon as the holidays are over because, Henry's just really keeping everyone together right now.
That's fair.
It's very true. Yeah. Tori full on calls Charlie out, and I appreciate it, but she does it in a way that's she doesn't attack him. She doesn't say, "Hey, you're a piece of shit brother for doing this." She's just like, "Hey man, just so you know, we're constantly worrying about you." She's like she says it like it is. She's just like, "I worry about you all the time. Did you know that?" And Nick, of course, fully backing up Tori in the situation. He goes, "I know you're scared of being a burden. We just want to be here for you, and you have to let us." And it's like, that's so true. It's really hard for people, especially somebody like Charlie, who constantly does struggle with that, constantly feels like a burden, constantly feels like asking for anything is just absolutely unacceptable because then he's weak or because he's selfish or whatever reason. It's hard to push away from that, to break out of that mindset. But he ends up pushing people away by doing so, which we saw in the last episode. He started pushing his friends and he started pushing Nick away. And it is hard to break out of that mindset that you are a burden. And by doing that, you don't always see how much harder it's making it because then they can't support you. And so I think that's where Charlie kind of went through that journey in the last episode at first when he realized that he actually was making it worse for everybody else by him pushing people away. And now I think he's seeing that that's kind of happening again in a way. He is understanding now that once again, he's pushing them away. And Nick's saying it in such a way that I love the way he approaches it. He just says, "You have to let us." And it's very warm, it's very loving. He says it from a very loving standpoint. It's not at all just you need to do this. It's we want to be here for you because we love you.
It's also the language he uses empowers Charlie. He's like, it's in your control, basically. That's why he's saying you have to let us. You're in control of this, Charlie, also, which is important. For somebody with OCD who control is important, the language is very good for many reasons, but also that it's not triggering to Charlie.
Yeah, but I feel like even if he did let people in, he'd still be thinking about, well, is it too much now? Am I relying on them too much? Did I say too much? Should I be fine now? And they are annoyed that I'm not. Will they tell me if I'm annoying or being too much? It's never going to stop. He's going to be overthinking everything no matter what. But I don't know.
We do end on kind of a hopeful note in this scene where Charlie's like, "I just want to start this day over." And Nick goes, "Well, there's always New Year's Eve. Even if today kind of sucked, tomorrow's a new day. There's always another holiday very soon. So we can try again." So that's kind of how we end this scene. And then we transition into the next part, which is kind of the aftermath of the awkward encounter that Tao and Elle had at Tao's house. They basically have a talk about what happened earlier. And Tao immediately tries to apologize again for what happened. And how he says this is really funny. And also this is just kudos to Will's execution, acting the scene out. He says, "I think about it all the time. Not all the time. A respectful amount of time one thinks about one's girlfriend in that way."
Such a teenage boy. I love that response.
That is so funny. It's so perfectly Tao.
It is.
It is "Oh yes, I'm a gentleman. I promise. I'm not being weird. I promise." It's just so perfectly Tao. But I do also appreciate that Elle doesn't dwell on it. She doesn't you would think that he's trying to diffuse whatever awkwardness he's feeling, and Elle immediately is just "No, we need to talk about this. I want to talk about this." And Tao basically says, "I don't really think about you being trans," because Elle says basically that their whole situation where they were about to get intimate and she freaked out. had a lot to do just like with her own dysphoria. And when he says, I don't really think about you being trans, she goes, I know, but I am trans. It's a very big part of me. And she says, like, I had never imagined during my transition that I'd ever find a boyfriend that I felt comfortable taking my clothes off in front of. Which is, it shows like how it says a lot about Tao just as like her friend, as her best friend, but also just like how much, like how safe she feels with him. But also just how far she's come in her transition, because like she didn't even like consider it until that moment because of where they were at. So the fact is so sweet, especially because Tao, he says he's sorry because he made Elle feel that way. It's incredibly sweet. And then he proceeds by saying, I love you. I love everything about you.
Oh, so cute.
Which is probably like one of the best things that just like say it, like just put a ring on it already. My God. Okay.
Oh my God.
Like just one of the
Seriously.
sweetest things. Oh my God. Obviously no, because they're teenagers, but like that's just the feeling.
Yes.
That's the vibe.
In like 5 years or whatever.
Like fucking marry me already. Oh my God. Like if somebody said that to me, my God. So, and then Tao just basically says just like everything that any person wants to hear a person say, like a straight guy especially say. And he says he still will want to be with Elle regardless of what level of intimacy they ever get to in their relationship. He's like, it doesn't matter. I will still want to be with you because I love you. And instead of kissing her, he hugs her, which I think is probably like the best thing ever, because he purposely, after having this conversation about her body and how she doesn't feel like she's in her right body because she's still struggling with her dysphoria, he basically just takes her and envelops her whole body in his arms, basically just emphasizing the fact that he just said he loves all of her. He loves everything.
Yes.
And so they wrap up the scene by, he basically says, can I walk you home and we can talk about what you're comfortable with doing and not doing? And of course, Elle agrees. And Tal once again wraps his arms around her, like fully, like I think he like fully wraps them around her shoulders as they walk. So it's like he heard her say she doesn't feel secure in her body, she's having her dysphoria, and he's like, can I help? Can I offer you a hug in these trying times?
It's so true. Oh. It's very Tao and Elle, and it's very sweet. And I just want to go back to the line where Tao says, I don't like basically think about you as being a trans person. And then Elle says, but I am. So I really like that piece of dialogue, because like I understand where Tao is coming from and why Tao is. He's like, to me, you're just Elle. Like you're just Elle, and I love everything about Elle, like the person, like everything. And Elle's kind of saying like, but that is part of Elle. Elle is trans. You know what I mean? And so I like that dialogue, because like this is part of Elle's journey as a trans woman, and I think it's important that she said that, because obviously not speaking, I'm not a trans person, so I can't speak on the trans experience and at all, but I like that in this conversation Elle is basically, this is my experience kind of as a trans person, that I had this reaction that I didn't know I was going to have. And so for me as a person who's not a trans person, like this helped me empathize with with Elle's experience, because it's like akin to like the way it's framed a lot in media is that it's like you come out and that's it kind of thing. It's like you transition and it's over, but it's like it's part of the journey. Like this is also a piece of that journey for Elle specifically, and so I like that the conversation is framed like that too, from that storyline that we're in with Elle specifically. So I did like that dialogue.
Yeah, I think it is definitely easy for Tao to say like I don't think of you as trans, especially because it's like he's been through her whole journey,
right?
And he's loved her through all of it. He's seen the shit that she went through, and he completely empathizes with like whatever bullying she went through, whatever like self-doubt she was having, and all of that, because he was there for all of it, and he was this one of the supportive friends, obviously, who was like fully in on it, just like, I don't care, I love you regardless of whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're struggling with, and it's still you, so why would I love you less? So I think that's why it's so easy for him to simply say, I don't think of you as trans because I just think of you as yourself, and I love every part of you because I always have, because that's just who you've been to me always. I think that's one of the beautiful things. It almost made me emotional, like watching this the first time, because it is like that beauty of like being best friends first. And just like seeing, even if like you don't go through a bunch of shit together, like even if you haven't gone through a rough time, like I heard this thing that somebody said once that was probably really funny, like, but also like a very good way of saying is like, if somebody knew you, if you're like in your 30s now and somebody knew you when you were in your teenage years and they're still your friend, that's a real one. Because even if you guys didn't go through shit together, you saw each other through some of your most awkward phases. You've seen each other through so many different phases of your life. And if they still stick with you, regardless of how much you've changed, that's a fucking real friend. So,
yeah, it's really true.
So, but I love that about these two, and the fact that they were like each other's best friends, confidants, everything before either of them even considered a potential romantic interest in each other. Like it just kind of came up naturally as they were best friends already. And so I think that's just like the most beautiful friends to lovers. I'm also a big sucker for friends to lovers. Like it's just one of my favorite romance tropes.
It's such a good trope.
Yeah.
But also this
friends to lovers and add fake dating.
I love fake dating.
That's also, especially because that can get really funny. So
yes, can get really funny. But I do love the scene though with Tao, because Tao, remember how we started with Tao where he's like trying to force the romance into their summer?
Oh my god.
But like here he is creating this winter of romance without even trying. It's just Tao being Tao, which like I love that about him.
Character growth.
I know.
They're just able to just be themselves and be silly.
It's sweet.
If you can't be silly together, what's even the point? So
I agree.
I think I heard somebody, there was a post on Tumblr once that was, my love language is being obnoxious in museums with my partner. And it was funny because I immediately was just like, that's literally just Tao and Elle season 2.
Literally. That's so true.
I want somebody I can be annoying in museums with. Like, bro, same. Oh my god.
So cute. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I went on such a tangent. Okay. So
Charlie.
They wrap up that scene and they walk home together, which is really sweet. And we go back to Charlie. Charlie has now gone back home with Tori, and he hugs both his parents, who we presume that there's an apology that has either already happened or it is currently happening in this moment. We don't actually hear any of the dialogue that happens in this moment. It's interesting also that I think it is sweet that the dad does come over and hug him as well, because it's like it feels like the dad doesn't really have anything to apologize for necessarily, but also I mean, just because we didn't see like any interaction that would have warranted it, because there was no argument with the dad, but also like I feel like the thing with Charlie's dad is he definitely feels a significant level of responsibility for Charlie's condition, because it feels like he might have had like signs that he has seen since, at least since season 2, if not since season 1, that he just kind of didn't think about. Because like we see in season 1, he said like he knew about the bullying, obviously, because he like when he's leaving for Harry's party, he goes, "Call me if you need me." And then when they go to the movies, he's like, "If the boys say anything, you call me. I will come get you." And he's very aware. And then in season 2, when Charlie's upset, he's like, "Do you want dinner?" And Charlie's like, "No, I ate at Nick's." Does the dad really believe him? It's hard to tell. So he looks very worried. So I have to wonder if Julio, I don't remember how to pronounce his name, if his father feels like he has a lot to make up for because of that.
Yeah, the dad's interesting, especially in the show, because we rarely get him. We get more Jane than dad. And the thing about the dad from the show is that his like crime against Charlie is that he doesn't act. Like he's the passive one to a point where it is detrimental. So it's like that saying where like inaction is an action in and of itself. And so like dad doesn't act. And like so all these things with Charlie keep escalating because like dad doesn't intervene. And then mom tries to come in and like do all the action for both of them and it blows up. So like dad needs to apologize for not intervening sometimes. Not that that's like inappropriate all the time. Sometimes that's what's needed, but like dad rarely acts in the show. And I feel like that harms Charlie sometimes.
That's true. And in this scene especially, it probably was like in this situation, it's probably very hard because it's not even his family, it's his wife's family.
Well, that too.
In-laws, trying to tackle in-laws, like, oh boy. Yeah. But it is great that they do have like that moment of like they hug and it's like you can tell that there's like a genuine like I am sorry for what happened today between all parties involved, I feel like. There even if it's not like a I'm sorry I did this, it's a I'm sorry that this has happened today kind of feeling. So,
yeah.
After that, we cut back to Nick, who is in his room back home. He is sitting on his bed and he grabs the jumper that Charlie brought over with him that he was like soaked from in the rain. And because it is his jumper, of course it's back with him, and he holds it with this look of concern. He like clutches it to him. And my assumption was that this is probably like he's thinking about the fact that Charlie had asked him to turn around while he changed. Nick's realizing here that there's still some stuff that Charlie obviously is struggling with. It's not that Nick assumed once Charlie was out of the clinic that he was cured, that he was healed, that he was fine, because I think he even talked about it in last episode. He's like, obviously it didn't magically fix him, but it has definitely helped. So, but I think it kind of does bring to light, just like right in front of his face, he's seeing right here, oh, this is actually still a thing that he's dealing with. Okay. Probably, and like connected to his like eating disorder and his OCD and everything, like his body dysmorphia is definitely connected to all of it. Also, I just big shout out to Alice for her writing in all of this and her like depth that she has clearly put into Charlie. I mean, especially because Charlie is a character that she wrote like years and years and years ago. And also just this is me going off about Charlie because he's like my absolute favorite character. So I wonder why. Charlie is a character that has never been oversimplified just because of like his mental illnesses. He's always had such a depth to him. He's not just defined by his mental illness. And it would be very easy for us to only see like his only character arc could be his progress, him getting better, and that's it. But that's not how real people are. And I love that this show proves, and the way that it was tackled in the comics as well, there's more to Charlie than just his mental illness and his trauma. Charlie is a person. So
yeah, that is such an excellent point. And like that is the strength of Heartstopper in general, is that the people are people. And people are not good or bad. People are everything all at once. So I do love the way she grounds the characters, and they feel so real.
Yeah. I think that's something that this whole show, I think we've talked about this before, this whole show does so well is lets us see both sides.
Yes.
Like whenever there is an argument between two people, we can honestly empathize with both sides or sympathize or whatever. We can kind of see why they act the way they do and where they're coming from. So,
yeah, I will forever die on the hill that point of view is so important. It's all about point of view. And that's why I like consuming media like this, the way we break it down, because really it comes down to motivation. So if you're just like, it's so easy to cast off Jane as the villain, as Charlie's mom as the villain. But like, is she, or is she traumatized? Like, what's her point of view in all of this? Why is she, like, ask why. Like, why is the character doing this? Like, And it's not good. It's not evil. There really is no villain and no hero. It's just, these are people. People are messy. All people are messy. Even Charlie, the protagonist, like, he just like harmed Tori a minute ago. So like, people are people, and that's important to realize. I think Disney did us all a disservice by making everything so black and white, and when it comes to like good versus evil, and it's like, no, that is such an oversimplification of literally everything. And if you view the world that way, like, you really miss out on a lot of what's going on, especially in shows like this. So I think, again, Alice, great job, Alice. This was a fantastic show. And when we say we want complicated characters, we mean Charlie. Like, Charlie is a complicated, well-designed character who's just has strengths and flaws, just like literally any other human being. And I love that. And you still love him. Like, Charlie's still great. Like, Charlie is Charlie, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. And then on the other side of it, you see like Joe's execution of Charlie.
Oh, yes.
He's even said in interviews, like, he doesn't necessarily consider himself like the same as Charlie in like too many ways. He sees parts of himself in Charlie, but Charlie is kind of a whole character that is not like him. Like, he has actually had to really put time into understanding Charlie and his mindset and everything, because he is a different person than who Charlie is. So just says a lot right there as well. Like, the amount of time and love and care that everybody has put into this show, especially like including the actors, just into their characters. Like, it really shows. Like,
it really does.
Yeah,
it really does.
It's a lot of love.
Even like the one-off characters, like you have Oliver come in, and the kid is Oliver. Like, he's just in it for this episode, and the actor destroyed it. Like, that is exactly Oliver. Like, it was perfect.
This is why open calls are so special. Like, they're so good. Cast new people because they might be perfect. Anyway, I will die on that soapbox of like, open calls are amazing. Open calls do so much more for the artistic community and opening up like opportunities for newer actors. So like, yeah. Speaking of Oliver, speaking of Precious Boy, one-off character who we should have more of, but obviously, yeah. We end this transitional scene, like this whole little montage, with Charlie, Tori, and Oliver are playing Mario Kart in the most Charlie and Tori way, where Oliver is now trying to sabotage Charlie, and Tori's going, yes, Oliver, sabotage. It's really funny.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
And
I love it.
This one was definitely for the comic fans.
Yes.
People who've read this winter, so.
And it was necessary.
Oh, 100%.
It was. So cute. All right, so then after that, we are going to transition to New Year's. It would have been better if, like, we ended Christmas with Nick being like, there's always New Year's, and then we transition. That would have been, like, the perfect setup, honestly. But
it's true.
It's the work. It's the work.
Yeah. I think it's really cute that we literally start out with Nick. He's getting all ready, making himself look all nice and handsome for Charlie, even though they've been dating for almost a year at this point. He still like wants to make himself look nice for his man. And he poses in front of the mirror with Henry specifically.
Oh my God.
Like, we don't see him pose by himself. We just see him pose with Henry, because this is like the presentation that he wants to give when Charlie walks in the door, is he's holding Henry. It's so funny. And he even says,
cute.
You ready? And Henry just goes, huh? What? I love the facial expressions from Henry. This little pug who has no idea what's happening. It's the cutest thing. So cute. And of course, when Charlie comes over, he's like, how's my tiny boy? Which is adorable. Charlie, so Nick has his license now. Nick has passed his exam, so he is now able to drive. And Charlie teases him. He's like, you do know that you're not going to be my taxi driver from now on. And Nick, typical Nick fashion, says, lucky me, because now this means Nick and Charlie they have so much more freedom to go wherever they want together. They don't have to necessarily take the bus. They don't have to necessarily have to walk to each other's place anymore. They don't have to ask a parent for a ride or anything. They don't have to coordinate anything. They can literally Nick can get in the car and go. if he really wants to. So that was really cute. And then they get to the party. This is something that, okay, this is a moment that I thought was a really interesting and really good choice. So they get to the party, and Nick and Charlie are sitting together, and they share a look, and Charlie takes Nick's hand. And it almost seems like you would think that it would have been the other way around, that it would have been Nick taking Charlie's hand, in the sense of like the typical pattern's been like Nick going, "I'm here for you. I know you're nervous." But this is Charlie asking for support, which is kind of like literally trying to honor what Nick said in the last scene, which is, "You need to let us be there for you." And that is exactly what Charlie's trying to do here, is be like, I want you here with me. And he takes his hand, and it's like the best little detail. And I love the choice that Charlie's the one who does it and not Nick. So I thought
that
was
is
really
such a
sweet.
good read on that scene. Thank you for that.
I didn't catch that.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Yeah, I agree. No, it's that is canon. That's what that was happening in that scene. Okay, so with his emotional support boyfriend, Charlie and Nick then enter the Rager, and like immediately the friends spot them, and they're like, "Yay!" and they pull them into like the festivities happenings. And the friends at this stage are Elle, Tao, and Isaac. And so Elle and Charlie are having like a little sidebar, and they're like catching up because Elle's away at school, so like their catch up sessions are like few and far between now. So they're catching up, and Elle reveals that her art is blowing up on Instagram even more, and now she has 20,000 followers, where I think last time she had like 10,000. So like Elle's gaining like notoriety as like an artist, which is pretty cool, and will become a plot point in another episode. So pin in that. Then the rest of the gang shows up. So like Imogen, Sahar, Tara, and Darcy then show up. And now the whole Paris squad is there. And they break into like this dancing montage because party.
I just want to note how this is just the cutest little thing. How much Imogen seems to sincerely adore Charlie. I don't know what it is about it. I just think it's the sweetest little thing. Like she sees him, she squeals, and she runs up and tackle hugs him, and she pulls him into dance. And I love, it's like such an underrated little thing, and I want to see more interactions between Charlie and Imogen in the future, because I would love this to be a friendship, especially being so full circle with like Imogen having that crush on Nick, and the whole thing about her not knowing about Nick and Charlie at the time in season 1, and then Nick coming out to her in the beginning of season 2, and now her and Charlie are like buddies, and it just would be such the cutest thing. It's almost like
really sweet.
What is it, like your exes become best friends or whatever, like kind of one of those things. Like really funny.
It is kind of like that.
Really cute story. So I would love
That'd be cute. I would like more of those scenes too. So after their little reunion, they all go dance because like party time, and they're having like a gay old time. And then Tara at some point like sneaks away and tries to like drink away her feelings, basically, because she's been stressed the whole season, basically, and tries to go get a drink. And then some randos like corner her, and they're like, "Hey, you're a prefect. Help us with something school related." And it's like, children, this is a party, not fucking classroom. Like, what are you doing? Leave this woman alone. And she freaks out because like, here's Tara trying to like have a normal day, like what Charlie was saying, and like here's all the scholastic pressures like physically coming at her in a party when they're not supposed to be. So like Tara's like, for fuck's sake. And like, I feel so bad for her. So she gets real stressed out when she's trying to have fun. And so like she's gonna isolate herself for the rest of the party because she's just stressed out. And then we cut away from Tara, and like we get another Imogen and Sahar scene, but they're in person this time. So Sahar's like doing whatever, and like Imogen approaches her to grab quote champagne off the table that's in front of Sahar, and then they start flirting for like a hot second, and it's all smiles and giggles or whatever. And then some rando dude shows up, and Imogen immediately throws herself at the dude, and the dude whisks her away, and the bitch literally twirls to go dance with this guy, and I'm like, girl. And like once again, poor Sahar is personally victimized by the comp het agenda. Because that is actually an agenda. It's an actual agenda.
But let's focus on what happened before that, because that was very, very cute between the two of them. And they both looked like just so light and easy going together. Like there wasn't a bunch of stuff going on behind them. But yeah, poor Sahar, because her face when Imogen leaves is like, I can't believe I'm still falling for this shit.
Yeah. Again, it's terrible. But feelings are feelings. Like, you can't escape them. They just exist. So I feel bad for Sahar in this scene. It's just sucks. So after that nonsense, then we cut over to Darcy. And Darcy is having a bro session with one of Elle's art schoolmates. And I don't know either of these character names, but this
one's Felix.
This one's Felix. Okay, cool. I forgot the names. Sorry, guys. And so Felix and Darcy are bonding over their gender nonconforming journeys, which is really great that Darcy has like a comrade that they can talk to. And I love the advice Felix gives, which is, you don't have to come out as anything. Just have fun with it and just chill. That's great.
I know. And Darcy's response is, yeah, I will have fun with it. Thank you very much.
And it's really sweet because, like, that's basically the scene with Darcy and Gran. Like, Darcy was doing gender expression stuff and having fun with Gran. And, like, I'm glad that, like, Darcy got the validation there, which is really great. Mm-hmm. Then we cut over to Nick and Charlie, and they're just chilling when some rando comes by and is like, hey, Charlie, this is like the scene of randos. And some rando comes by and is like, hey, Charlie, why weren't you in school for like 500 years? And Charlie starts panicking because I don't think anyone's confronted Charlie really with this question, or Charlie's really had to answer in depth about this to anybody outside of his immediate family and friend group. Because we just saw that at Christmas. Like, he, like, clearly his, like, you know, second removed relatives don't know the details. Definitely people at school that aren't the para squad definitely don't know this. And so before Charlie can even like come up with an answer, Nick's like, oh yeah, fireworks, and pulls Charlie away. So I think that like Charlie probably still isn't comfortable with fully divulging everything to any like most people at this point.
Nor should he have to be, because like that, you don't have to share everything with people.
True.
But also, if someone hasn't been in school for a while and you aren't in their immediate friend group, don't ask them about it. Especially, again, at a party.
Is it weirder to be like, where were you, versus like, hey, I have a prefect question for, like, what the hell was that question? That was so weird. You're at a party. Why? It's like, bringing up work outside of work. It's like, can you stop talking about work? We're at a bar. Just shut the fuck up. Get over yourself. But yeah, you know, Charlie doesn't have to answer, but like, I don't blame the kids for being curious, because, you know, they could be worried too. They'd be like, where were you? Like, are you okay? Like, it's not wrong for them to ask, but like, you're right, Charlie owes them nothing. And so Nick didn't even give him the chance. He just pulled Charlie out of there. Then we cut over to Elle and Tao, and they're like flirting hardcore, and they start dancing, and it gets very electric, shall we say. And we get the animations and electric butterflies. So like, I love that. And once Elle is like very close to Tao, I think Elle recognizes what's going on with the electricity. It's sexual tension. And so she like is like, Tao, I'm gonna go get a drink, because this is her version of like, I'm going on a walk. So she goes to get a drink and runs into second art bestie, whose name I also forgot. Do you remember, Elena?
Naomi is her name.
Naomi, thank you.
But before we get to that conversation, can we just talk about Tao's face when she leaves?
Poor Tao.
Because he just kind of like does this thing. It's like, I guess I'll just pretend I'm dancing.
Especially after Tao does like his signature dance move, which is this thing.
The hands.
It's like his signature dance move. And then Elle does it with him, which is so cute.
So cute.
Such a nice touch.
They're just dorks together, and I freaking love them.
Oh.
Okay, so Elle and Naomi have a conversation where basically I was like, listen, I want to like take our relationship further in a physical way with Tao, but like feels guilty about the body dysmorphia that she still has, and is worried that that's going to be a barrier, because like that was kind of like what happened in the previous scene where they were alone together, and like Elle couldn't control it. It just happened. She's like, I'm just worried this is going to come up again and I can't control it, and it's like going to be an issue between the two of us, even though he says it's not, which like is a valid like thing to think, you know. Totally get it. But Naomi basically gives Elle a sex pep talk about Tao that boils down to do things at your own pace and just know Tao's going to understand. And also, I'm here for you even if he doesn't. Like, you have support in all the ways. Basically, it's kind of like mirroring the Felix conversation where Felix was telling Darcy, do things at your own pace. That's basically what Naomi's saying. Do things at your own pace, have fun with it, and just chill. It's going to be fine. Like, you have support. And, like, honestly, this is just solid advice, period, for, like, life.
Yeah,
very true.
I loved the choice of having Naomi be the one, especially because Naomi, who is also a transgender woman, like,
agreed,
can obviously like empathize completely with that feeling, and the fact that she immediately, like, when Elle comes over and says, "I want to have sex with Tao," she's like, "Oh my god!" and she immediately understands like what that means for Elle, because she gets it. She's been there. So whether or not she's been intimate before, we don't know, obviously, but like she gets like what Elle's probably feeling because of her dysphoria and everything. So I love that that was the choice. If anything, just to have a good excuse to have a scene with Naomi, because we've barely seen her this season.
Yeah.
So I want more of her and Felix, because I love them both. So they're like the best supportive friends for Elle, especially like because they're the friends that she has at art school. So I love this little friend group she has.
Yeah. They're very helpful to mentor the up and coming queers coming into their own
the baby
self.
queers.
The baby gays.
The baby gays.
So from here we head outside where Nick and Charlie are sitting by the bonfire, and Charlie tells Nick that he will probably be ready to leave after the fireworks, which Nick is completely fine with. So Nick leans on Charlie's shoulder and just says thank you, and then tells Charlie that he is really glad that he is back, because the last party that Nick went to was the Halloween one, and he was alone for that one, and he felt it. That was rough for him.
It really was.
Very rough. And now he finally has his person back, and like he's complete, like he's happy, and you just see how comfortable he is when Charlie's around. And that means that even though Nick is like worrying about Charlie, it's still giving him the sense of feeling complete, of feeling safe himself, and it's not just him worrying even more. Like, it's still better to have Charlie with him, because he's just going to worry if he can't be there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think there's also an anxiety when you worry about somebody and you can't see them versus like worrying about them, but they are right in front of you. Like, there is a different kind of anxiety and worry about them, because then you don't know what's going on and you don't know how to help because you're literally not there. So, oof.
Yeah,
that's true. So, speaking of not there, Tori's not there until she is. And she
like a ghost.
So Tori shows up and asks how Charlie's night is going. And Charlie's response is, "It's better than Christmas." And then her face does this, I can't even explain what her face does, but she says, "That's a pretty low bar."
Right.
And we're going to stop talking about Tori for a second and talk about Jenny, because she's a genius with physical comedy. Like, first of all, comedic timing is great.
So good.
But the physicality is just amazing. And it's because it's not over the top. It's just like very slight too. And Jenny doesn't have many credits because Heartstopper is her main role. I'm very hopeful about her future, and I really want her to get a comedy.
Agreed.
And some other great projects. Let's get on it, people.
I really want her and Derek, the guy who plays Michael, to do another project together in the future.
Yes.
Even if, like, solitaire spinoff, maybe. But, like, even if it wasn't that, I would love for them to do something else together because they just do so well. So.
They need a comedy together.
They do.
Yes. And praise be to Jeff, because Charlie has gotten through the night without any breakdowns, which is huge. Notice that he's now better with groups of people as long as Nick's around. And his family's not there. So it's going great. A lot better than Christmas. And then Charlie finally asks something about Tori. Like, it's like, oh, my sister's here. I should probably check in on her too. So he asks where her friends are, and she looks down and says that they are off being fun and cheerful. And I thought it was interesting that she says being and not having. And it shows that she's talking about the personalities of her friends rather than what they are doing. And shows that she doesn't really know how to fit in with them. Because she's like, I know I'm not like them. And they don't want to be around me because they are cheerful. They know how to have fun. I am doom and gloom right now. Or at least that's how she's feeling. And, like, that's not her fault either.
Yeah, this is the solitaire journey with Tori and her friends.
Yeah. And then, again, Charlie is finally there for her in this moment. And he assures her that she will find someone who she actually enjoys being around. Because, like, someone who gets her. Everyone needs that. And, like, Charlie found his. And it's probably hard for Tori to see that, too. And, like, Charlie have a huge friend group like that. Because she doesn't have that. And maybe she doesn't necessarily want that big of a friend group. But you always want to be understood by someone. And, again, she's alone right now. So hopefully that happens. Conveniently later in this episode.
Yes.
But we first have to head to Imogen and Sahar, waiting for the fireworks. Alright, so Imogen's like a cowering puppy right now, being like, I want to be next to you, but I know I messed up. Well, Sahara's like a lot more relaxed and fairly annoyed. Because, the last time that they actually talked was Halloween, which means they're long overdue to have a conversation about what the hell happened on Halloween. It is filmed. It will forever be remembered in video format. And Sahar, like, rightfully so, like, thinks that Imogen's just there to kiss her at midnight because, I forget his name. It's not Henry. Is it Henry? One of the guys was like, it's almost midnight, find someone to kiss.
Harry, so, yeah. I was like, wait. Harry. Henry, I heard Henry, I was like, the pug? What?
Right.
I know it wasn't Henry.
Harry, yes.
I'm like, they wouldn't have two characters named Henry.
I mean, they're in England. You can absolutely have two characters named Henry.
They did.
For sure.
They did, actually, in the comics. Fun fact. Jack Maddox is actually Henry Maddox in the comics. So but they did change that for the show. So, fun fact.
Nice.
We all just call him Jonathan Bailey anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Yeah, Harry has to make at least one appearance, so.
Listen.
It was in Harry's season 1 contract. Any subsequent seasons must have at least 5 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, Cormac has to at least be in 5 seconds for sure. He has to say at least one line. I mean, there you go.
Okay, so Sahar, Imogen starts. Okay, hold on. Why is that when Imogen goes up to Sahar? That is also interesting. Like, was in the back of her mind like, oh, I do want to kiss her? So, like, that's just where she ended up.
Right.
And then she's like, I guess we should talk.
Yeah, because, like, basically, when Imogen's like, Sahar basically is like, calls her out in a second and is like, of course you came over here just as midnight's gonna happen because you probably want to kiss me or whatever. And Imogen's like, I don't know why I'm here. I think I think she's spiraling and, like, a lot of subconscious things are coming to the surface, and I don't think she's recognizing her own behavior and feelings truly at this moment and is just, like, lost. And so she's like keeps gravitating to Sahar, but I don't think she knows why is the thing. And Sahar, again, who's like processed her sexuality, understands a lot more of herself, is just like, stop using me. I can see what you're doing. And Imogen's like, I really don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm lost. So I think you're right. It is subconscious.
To her credit, she does apologize for what happens and admits that she was being toxic, which is a very strong word and something that people never really say about themselves. So for the fact that she knows that was messed up is huge character growth for her to, like, accept something. Like, knowing that, like, oh, it's not okay to pretend like it's an experiment. She doesn't know what's going on right now, but she knows there is something that she has to work through and that it wasn't fair to Sahar. And Sahar's understanding about it, but again, she's Sahar and she stands up for herself and says that she doesn't want to be an experiment, which, like, that's totally fair. No one really wants to be an experiment. And that's what Imogen was treating her as by not validating the kiss, really. And then Sahar lets a bomb drop. Because she says, and you know that you're the reason why I realized I was bi. And Imogen's mind explodes.
But, like, Sahar, did you tell her this? Or did you, like, make that up in your head that you told her this? Is my question.
No, seriously. Imogen didn't even know that she was bi last year. Or, like, last season. How would she know that she was the reason that you realized that?
Listen, yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, I feel like Sahar made this up in her head or, like, dreamed it, and Imogen's like, wait, what? Did this happen?
Well, this was a very explicit dream that ended very nicely for Sahar in there.
I mean, it's possible. No, like, literally when she says in season 2, I'm bisexual, and she walks away, there's an exchange that we don't see on screen. Because, like, Imogen follows her, and you kind of can hear her say, Sahar, I didn't know that. And then the dialogue kind of trails off, because then we go to Tara and Darcy.
True.
But so we don't actually know what the exchange was. But I'm curious if, like, Sahar was, like, trying to hint at it, and she thought that Imogen got the message or something?
Imogen?
I don't know. Yeah, like...
You know what, with Imogen, she could have probably been distracted by something, like, trying to create the image of herself, while Sahar literally told her.
Oh my god.
Because we don't even see at the after she says this to her, like, I didn't know that. Like, we could have went to the next part, and they could have been like, Sahar could have said, we literally had a conversation about this.
It's true.
Like, where were you?
Imogen's denial so deep at that point, it's possible that, like, Sahar flat out said it, and she just did not compute.
Sahar literally was just like, I think you're really beautiful. And Imogen could have just been like, oh, thanks, bestie.
Right, exactly. So, like, that would make Sahar's energy towards Imogen make a lot more sense, where she's like, I thought we were on the same page. And, like, nope. They're not. Yeah. Nope. So, yeah, probably a conversation off screen. Yeah. That makes sense.
Which means that Halloween kiss meant a lot more to Sahar, clearly. Especially if she thought that Imogen knew about
her feelings.
That fact.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, those two are so messy, and I love them. I want to see more of that.
I appreciate the compet journey. I really do, because it's so real for so many people. And, like, the sooner we can deconstruct the compet agenda, because it's actually the one with the agenda, the happier people will be. Because it just does psychological damage to people.
Yeah.
Poor Imogen.
Another person we have to say poor.
Speaking of psychological damage.
Yeah, thank you. That's a better segue. Back with Tori. She's walking through the party and just, like, has her arms in. Does she have her diet lemonade?
Not
is
yet.
that what that is?
I don't know, maybe.
She's holding something, yeah.
She has something in her hands that she's like holding, and she's just like making herself small and walking through the party when she locks eyes with a new face, who we know all too well, at least if you read Solitaire.
It's Michael Holden.
And if you haven't,
yay!
Why haven't you?
Yeah, go read Solitaire. Solitaire is the best. Okay, so speaking of Solitaire, love this for them. Thing I also love about it is when they lock eyes in the particular room that they're in, it's bathed in this pinkish red color, which is the same color as the Solitaire book cover, at least like the new edition, where it's very pink and stuff because of the fire that triggers Caitlin into a rant, which we're not getting into.
Wait, that's why it's pink?
Yeah, because there's a fire raging in the
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. So anyway, no, we're not ranting about that. But I just love that, like, again, they're sticking with, like, this is Solitaire, everyone, even with the colors.
Oh my god. What's such a
Solitaire is what started the whole journey.
It's true.
There would be no Nick and Charlie without Solitaire.
It is. It was Alice's very first book. So
First book.
Tori was her very first character. So
here we are.
Oh my god. And it's such a meet cute too.
It
like
is.
in its own way. Like obviously like those of us who have read Solitaire, we kind of know the journey of like where this starts and where the journey goes. But this is like such a meet cute for them because the moment they lock eyes, so like you hear all of the chatter of like the background noise of the party. As soon as they lock eyes, that music or the chatter is gone. It is just the music. That is it. It is pure silence, no chatter, and it's just the music behind it, and then the lyrics. And after that, there's like this moment of pause where they just stare at each other, and then it cuts to a shot of like Tori about to walk away, and there is this. She doesn't get the gay leaves animation. She gets a snowflake, which is really cute, nice little touch because of the fact that this episode is literally called Winter. But also, is this meant to be a representation of something? Could this be Tori's asexuality? Or is it just Tori as a whole and her belief she has no soul, that she's cold, that she has no love for anybody but Charlie? Could this symbolize something?
All right, I have a take on it.
Give it, Kaylin.
So as we've mentioned previously, no two snowflakes are the same. But here, there's just one. And we know that Tori feels very different from everyone else. She is a snowflake. She's not the same as anybody else. Also, no one is. But since there's only one snowflake swirling in this scene, it could be indicating that the two of them are alike, which means they share a snowflake.
I like that. To piggyback off the snowflakes as unique thing too, it's like Tori and Michael, spoiler alert, I mean, not so much if you've seen the show, form a very unique bond and unique relationship that's really unlike anything else in the show too. So there's also that take too, that they're about to form this very unique connection and very like one that like is nothing. It's a connection that Tori doesn't have in her life that she kind of can't compare to anything else. So it's going to be a unique bond that they're about to have. So if you have any takes on the snowflake, let us know.
When Tori turns to walk away, her face, there's this like a slight smile that happens. And it's mixed with confusion, excitement, bewilderment, all the emotions all in one. She was just hit with an emotion bomb. And it's like in Inside Out, like she had emotions, but like they weren't all there. And then all of a sudden they all moved in all at once. And she's like, what the hell do I do with this? But her life's changed now. And like no words were spoken between the two of them. And there was a connection there. And, like, that's so Tori.
It is.
It was perfect. Actually perfect.
Yes.
Okay. But before we get to the very end, we get a quick update on everybody. while there's a countdown for the fireworks. So Tara and Darcy, Tara went off on her own again, and Darcy finally finds her. And it's showing that Tara can't even be with Darcy right now, which is the first sign of trouble when the person is isolating themselves. So Tara, we're getting to a dark place for Tara now, and we really got to see these signs. And I think Darcy is. This is where Darcy's starting to see it and is there for Tara more. And then we see James go up to Isaac. And I guess Isaac starts panicking or something, but James immediately says, "Don't worry, I'm not here to kiss you. I just don't want to be alone at midnight." And I was just that's so sweet, because it's just I just want to be near you. And I ship this friendship.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Elle and Tao, as always, are doing their own thing. Elle doesn't give a damn about the countdown, and she just pulls Tao into a bedroom.
Yeah, so they have sex for the first time.
And then, then the fireworks go off for Sahar and Imogen, because they kiss. And now Imogen is going to have a harder time explaining this one away to herself. So she's going to have to face some facts.
Yeah, and then we get the Nick and Charlie kiss, and then the countdown happens, and then we get Tori, the queen that she is, walking away from all of this making out with her diet lemonade in hand, and then we get fireworks going off behind her, which I love.
Yeah, that asexual flag firework production team. Yeah. I see you.
That's right. Have you ever seen fireworks that color before? No, they literally did it for this show. I love it.
That's so on
purpose. My queen, Tori. Perfect.
They're so great.
It's so great.
But this episode is bookended with Tori.
As it should be.
And she deserves it.
It starts with Tori and it ends with Tori.
It's great.
Wait, it's like last episode where it starts with Nick, not Nick, Charlie. Well, it does start with Nick, but it's Charlie's journey. This is Tori's journey.
It would make sense considering
from the beginning to the end.
We do start with Tori in the novella too. And she does narrate most, a majority of the novella, so that makes sense.
Yeah. You go, Tori. And that concludes winter. Woo! So we've made it to the end. So it's time to give out the Big Gay Energy Awards. I can start. I want to give the Big Gay Energy Award to the conversation with Naomi and Elle.
Oh.
Because, like you pointed out, Elena, I love that you had two trans characters talking about sex together and doing a sex pep talk. Because, you had two characters who have similar experiences, who actually understand each other, who can have this conversation, who created a safe space, who are very real with each other. And I love that. And I love that Elle and Naomi have each other.
Gran automatically gets an honorary Big Gay Energy Award.
I was going to give it to Gran.
Whenever she's on the screen.
Gran and Darcy.
So, that's a given, because Gran's the best. You can't. It's like Olivia Colman.
Right.
You always... whenever they're in an episode, they get an honorary award, so we have to pick someone else.
Correct.
I think I'm going to say Tori, because she did communicate her feelings and stuck up for herself, even though she was still worried about Charlie.
True.
I'm going to have to give it to Isaac this episode, because while he wasn't in a ton, he was literally just a vibe the entire episode. The first part of the episode, he's got the cozy beverage and he's reading his book. And then we go to the New Year's Eve party, and there's this shot that I actually laughed out loud when I saw it, but there's the shot right before Elle and Tao get kind of heated with their dancing, and there's a shot of the group all swaying to the music, and Isaac has on these glasses, and he's just going swaying to the music, and I'm just he was such a vibe in that scene. It was so funny. It just made me laugh for some reason, because you could just tell Toby was having so much fun with it. And then when he is in that circle at midnight, not kissing anybody, just dancing and singing. That was literally my New Year's this year, was dancing around, singing New York, New York by Frank Sinatra, because that's what plays on Rockin' Eve. We're all just in a bar, like singing and dancing. No one's kissing anybody. So Isaac was my vibe this episode. So he gets my award.
I love that. Yes, absolutely.
This has been a very long episode, as usual. So if you made it this far, we want to know. Here is your phrase for this episode that you are challenged to use in a review or a comment. However, reviews would be great. So today's phrase, technically, is hashtag Tori deserves better.
All right. Good luck with that. Because she did deserve better, but we love our Queen Tori. She's the best. All right. Well, that concludes Winter. We'll be back next time to talk about episode 6. And in the meantime, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing, super gay content.
If you'd like to support us, check out our merch store, or join our Patreon for early access to episodes, exclusive content, and so much more.
Until next time, stay safe and hydrate for lesbian Jesus.